The radio didn't just crackle, it breathed my name into the room. My name is Ethan Cole, Night Dispatcher, County Highway Control Station 4. And that night, I received a call for a place that didn't exist on any map. Unit 7, respond, mile marker 12. I stopped writing immediately, because there is no mile marker 12 on Route 6. I leaned closer to the console. Dispatch, repeat location. I said, a pause. Then the voice came again, calm, too calm. Mile marker 12. Past the bend that doesn't show on your map. My screen flickered. Route 6 looked normal. Straight. Empty. No bend. No marker 12. Still, my system suddenly updated. Unit 7 active. Location mile marker 12 unverified. My stomach dropped because Unit 7 was me. I was sitting right there in the station. So who was on the road? The radio clicked once. Then a voice whispered, "You already sent me here, Ethan Cole." I froze. "I didn't send anyone," I said. "There is no assignment." A soft static laugh came back. Then something worse. A sound like tires moving slowly on gravel, inside the radio itself. I turned toward the window. The highway outside was empty, but in the distance, two headlights appeared, standing still, watching, and then the system beeped again. Notification. Unit 7 has reached mile marker 12. My hands went cold, because I hadn't moved, and yet something had already arrived under my name. I left the station. I shouldn't have. My name is Ethan Cole, and I was supposed to stay at dispatch. But the silence on the radio felt like a trap closing in. Outside, the air was wrong. Cold, but heavy, like rain had fallen only for me. I drove down Route 6. At least, I thought it was Route 6. At first, everything looked normal. Then the streetlights began to disappear. One by one, my GPS went blank. No signal, no map, just empty road. Then I saw it. Tire tracks. Fresh. Right in the middle of the asphalt. I slowed down. My name echoed in my mind. Ethan Cole. Ethan Cole. Ethan Cole. The tracks didn't go forward. They went backward. I stopped the car. Stepped out. "Hello." I called. No answer. Only wind. Then something shifted. The tracks were different now. Like they had been redrawn while I wasn't looking. My breathing got heavier. Behind me, my car lights turned on by themselves. I hadn't touched them. The engine started. My radio inside the car cracked to life, and it spoke in my voice. "Why did you leave the station, Ethan Cole?" I froze. Something sat in the passenger seat. Not clearly, just a shape, watching. The steering wheel turned slightly on its own, pointing forward, toward mile marker 12. And the radio whispered again, "If you go forward, you'll meet him." My voice cracked. "Who?" A pause. Then, "The one who never left." The road ended. Or maybe it didn't. My name is Ethan Cole, and I was standing in a place that refused to stay real. The tire track stretched endlessly now, looping, twisting, like the road was remembering itself incorrectly. And then I saw him, a man standing in the middle of the road, still, waiting. I stepped out of the car. My flashlight shook in my hand. "Ethan Cole!" I whispered to myself. The man finally moved, just his head, turning toward me. He wore a damaged highway patrol jacket. The name tag read, R. Collins. "Raymond Collins?" I called out. He nodded slightly. "You're late, Ethan Cole," he said. My chest tightened. "I don't know you," I said. "I've never been assigned here." Raymond gave a tired look. "You assigned me here," he replied. A cold silence hit me. Behind him, the road seemed to breathe. The tire tracks deepened, like something massive had just passed again. "How long have you been here?" I asked. Raymond looked down. "I don't know anymore," he said quietly. First it was hours, then days, and I stopped counting. My radio suddenly crackled in my pocket. I froze. It turned on by itself. My voice came through it. "Unit 7, respond." I dropped it instantly. Raymond stepped closer. "Don't answer it," he warned. But it was too late. The radio continued. "Mile marker 12, confirm location." Then his voice came through too. Younger, panicked. I'm still here. Why is no one coming? I stepped back. What is this place? I asked. Raymond looked at the ground and said, it's where calls don't end. A pause. They echo until someone answers them wrong. The ground beneath us vibrated, not shaking, breathing. Raymond looked at me one last time. If you leave, he said, don't follow the tracks when they loop. Why? I asked. He didn't answer. He just stepped backward into the dark and disappeared. Not walked away, not faded, just erased. My radio beeped one final time. A new message appeared. Mile marker 13. And I realized something horrible. The road wasn't taking me somewhere. It was rewriting where I already was. And somewhere ahead, it was still using my name to make sure I never stopped moving. My name is Ethan Cole, and I made a mistake the moment I left the dispatch station. I should have stayed behind the console, because once you step onto the road yourself, you stop being the one who received the calls and start becoming one. The night air outside hit my face like something would have passed through it, but the sky was clear. No rain, no storm. Still, everything smelled like fresh asphalt, like the world had just been repaved for something that wasn't supposed to exist. I got into my car and started driving. At first, everything looked normal. Streetlights, white lines, familiar silence. I told myself, Ethan Cole, you're just checking a false alert. That's all this is. But then the first light flickered out. Then the second. Then the third. Like the road was slowly forgetting how to stay visible. I checked my radio. Nothing. Just static breathing in and out. Then a whisper slipped through it. Soft. Too close. Ethan Cole. My hands tightened on the wheel. Stop. I muttered, this is interference. But the voice didn't stop. It repeated my name again, like it was learning how to say it properly. I slowed the car, and that's when I saw the tire tracks, right in the middle of the road. Fresh, dark, too perfect. I stopped completely. My headlights washed over them. Two clean lines stretching forward into the dark. But something felt wrong immediately. My name echoed in my head again. Ethan Cole. Ethan Cole. Ethan Cole. I stepped out of the car. The moment my boots touched the ground, the sound of the world dropped slightly, like volume had been lowered. I looked down at the tracks. They were warm. I pulled my hand back instantly. That's not possible, I whispered. Then I noticed something worse. The tracks weren't going forward. They were going backward, like something had driven here, by reversing time. Behind me, my car engine suddenly turned off. I spun around. No, I said quickly. I didn't do that. Silence. Then the headlights turned on by themselves. I stepped back slowly. The radio inside the car cracked alive. My voice came through it. Why did you leave, Ethan Cole? I froze. That wasn't a recording. It sounded present, alive, like I was speaking from somewhere else. I reached for the door handle, but stopped because something was inside, not clearly visible. Just a shape leaning toward the passenger seat, like it was listening. The radio spoke again. Calm, too calm. You followed the tracks. I swallowed hard. I didn't follow anything, I said. I stopped. A pause. Then the voice shifted. Not mine anymore. Not human in the same way. If you stop, it said, you disappear from a sequence. My breath got heavier. What sequence? I asked. No answer. Only the sound of tires. Slow, dragging, circling, not approaching from one direction. From all directions. I turned in place. Nothing. Only darkness and broken trees lining the road like witnesses. Then suddenly, everything stopped. Even the wind. Even my heartbeat felt loud. And in that silence, I heard footsteps. Behind me. Slow. Careful. I turned sharply. Nothing there. But the tire tracks had changed. They were fresh again. Deeper. Like something had just passed through them while I wasn't looking. My chest tightened. I backed toward my car. Okay, Ethan Cole. Calm down. I whispered. Just get back. Just go back. But when I turned fully, my car doors were open. All of them. The engine was running. And I swear, I hadn't touched it. The radio spoke again, this time softer, almost kind. "Ethan Cole, don't look at the road too long." I laughed nervously. "That doesn't make sense," I said. "I'm literally on the road." A pause. Then, "That's why it works." My flashlight flickered. Once, twice, and for half a second, I saw someone sitting in the driver's seat. Not clearly, just a shape turning slightly toward me. Then it was gone. I slammed the door shut instinctively. The engine revved. The wheels turned slightly on their own, pointing forward. Not where I came from, but where the tracks were leading. My name felt heavier in my chest now, like it had weight, like it was pulling me forward. The radio whispered one last thing. "If you go forward, you'll meet him." My throat tightened. "Who?" I asked. Silence stretched too long. Then, "The one who never left." And just like that, the engine stopped again. Everything went silent, but the headlights stayed on, still pointing forward, at tire tracks that now stretched farther than the road should allow, like the distance had been rewritten while I was standing still. I looked behind me and realized something I will never forget. The road I came from wasn't there anymore, just darkness, and the faint outline of tracks leading forward, waiting for me to continue a story that had already started without my permission. My name is Ethan Cole, and I thought mile marker 12 was just a location. I was wrong. It's a decision, one you don't realize you've already made until it's too late to undo it. The road stretched ahead of me like it had no memory of where it came from. My headlights cut through the dark, but the light didn't feel like mine anymore. It felt borrowed, like something else was driving through my vision. And then I saw him, a man standing in the middle of the tire tracks, completely still, like he had been waiting longer than the road itself. I hit the brakes hard. The car stopped, but the silence didn't. It followed me out. My breath came fast. "Ethan Cole," I whispered to myself, trying to stay grounded. "You are still in control." But I wasn't sure anymore. I stepped out of the car. The gravel under my boots felt soft. Too soft. Like the ground wasn't sure it should be solid. The man ahead didn't move. Just stood there, facing me. I raised my flashlight slowly. The beam landed on him, and my stomach dropped. His uniform was highway patrol. Old, worn, like it had survived something it was never meant to survive. The name on his chest read, R. Collins. My voice cracked before I could stop it. "Raymond Collins?" The man finally moved, just his head, turning slightly toward me, and when he spoke, it felt like the air itself recognized his voice. "You made it further than I did, Ethan Cole." I froze. "How do you know my name?" I asked. A pause. Then something like exhaustion passed through his expression. "Because I used to be you," he said. My grip tightened on the flashlight. "That doesn't make sense," I said quickly. "I'm dispatch. I don't go into the field." Raymond Collins gave a slow, tired smile. That's what I told myself too. The wind shifted, but only around him, like the world bent slightly to keep him centered. I stepped forward one cautious step. "Where am I?" I asked. He looked down at the tire tracks beneath us, and for the first time, I noticed they weren't just tracks. They were layered, older tracks underneath newer ones, like the road had been driven over too many times by things that shouldn't still exist. "This is mile marker 12. Raymond said quietly. I shook my head. "There is no mile marker 12. He looked at me sharply. "There is now." A cold weight settled in my chest. Behind him, the road seemed longer than it should have been, stretching too far into the dark, like distance was being added in real time. I stepped back instinctively. "My radio," I said, suddenly remembering. "It's been acting strange. It's not just interference, is it?" Raymond's expression changed. That question did something to him, something painful. "You're hearing it too," he said. I swallowed hard. "Hearing what?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he pointed at my chest, at the radio clip there. I hadn't even realized I was still wearing it. Static burst out of it suddenly. Then a voice. My voice. "Calm. Too calm. Unit 7, respond." I jerked back instantly. That's not me, I said quickly. That's not my transmission. Raymond stepped closer. It was me once too, he said, until it stopped sounding like me. The radio crackled again, and then another voice came through. Raymond's voice. Younger. Panicked. I'm still here. Why is no one coming? I dropped the radio. Immediately, it hit the ground, and didn't break. It just sank slightly into the asphalt, like the road accepted it. My breathing got faster. What is this place? I asked again, louder this time. Tell me the truth. Raymond looked around slowly, at the dark, at the tracks, at something I couldn't see. And then he said it. This is where calls go when no one closes them. A pause. They don't end. They repeat. My stomach tightened. That's impossible, I said. Systems don't work like that. He looked directly at me. They do when no one remembers to stop them. A low vibration started under my feet. Not shaking, not moving, just present, like something beneath the road had opened its eyes. Raymond took a step back. His voice dropped. You need to understand something, Ethan Cole. I braced myself. If you stay here too long. A pause. You start becoming part of the call. My breath caught. That doesn't make sense. But even as I said it, my footprints behind me started fading, not disappearing, being erased, like I had never stood there. Raymond saw it too, and for the first time, he looked afraid for me. Don't follow the tracks when they loop, he said quickly. I frowned. Why would they loop? He didn't answer. Instead, he looked past me, and I felt it before I saw it. A shift in the road. A curve that hadn't been there before. The tire tracks bending gently, like they were inviting me forward. Raymond stepped back into the darkness. No, I said quickly. Wait. But he shook his head. I stayed too long once, he said softly. Now I only exist when someone new arrives. Raymond, I shouted, but he didn't disappear like before. He did something worse. He slowly faded, like the road was unwriting him in real time. My chest tightened painfully, and then he was gone. No sound, no trace, just empty air where a man had been standing seconds ago. My radio on the ground crackled one last time. A new message appeared on the screen. Mile marker 13. My stomach dropped instantly, because I knew now this wasn't distance. It was progression. And somewhere ahead, something was waiting for me to take the next step in a story that never lets anyone reach the end. My name is Daniel Harris, and the first mistake I made that night was believing the address didn't matter. 2:17 a.m. That's when the call came in. Not a normal disturbance report, not a routine noise complaint. The dispatcher's voice was shaky when she read it out. House reported screaming, male and female voices, possible domestic incident. Then she paused, like she didn't want to continue. And the address is showing as invalid. I leaned closer. Invalid how? I asked. Her fingers tapped on the keyboard through the line. It's not in the system, Officer Harris. Not even on old records. I frowned. That doesn't make sense. Every structure has an entry. There was silence. Then she whispered, this one doesn't. That's when I first felt it. That small discomfort in the back of my mind. Like something about this call was already wrong before I even moved. Still, I responded. My name is Daniel Harris, Patrol Officer, Sector 4 Night Shift. And I've learned something important over the years. You don't ignore screams, even when they come from places that shouldn't exist. The drive took longer than it should have, not because of distance, because the road kept changing. Streetlights flickered in patterns I couldn't explain. Every time I passed the same intersection, it felt slightly different. Same buildings, different silence. My radio stayed quiet until I reached the edge of the zone. Then it cracked once, a soft burst of static, and a whisper came through. Officer Harris. I paused. Dispatch. I said. No response. Just breathing. Slow. Controlled. Not human in a normal way. I stopped the car. Looked at the empty road ahead. Identify yourself, I said. The radio clicked. Then silence. Then the address came through again. But this time it sounded closer. Too close. like it was inside my car. I checked the GPS. No signal. Just blank space where the map should have been. And then I saw it. A house. Standing alone. No neighboring buildings. No street name. No mailbox. Just a structure sitting in the dark like it had always been waiting there. My name is Daniel Harris, and I remember thinking, that wasn't there a second ago. I stepped out. The air felt heavier outside the car, like the world had thicker gravity here. My flashlight beam hit the house. 2 floors. Old wood. Windows dark. But not empty. I swear I felt something behind them. Watching. The front door was slightly open. Just a crack. Like it was expecting me. My radio hissed again. Do not enter, then cut off. I froze. That's not procedure. I muttered. Then I stepped forward anyway. Because sometimes fear doesn't stop you. It just follows you inside. The porch creaked under my boots. 1 step, then another. Each sound felt delayed, like the house was listening before reacting. I reached the door. My hand hovered, then pushed it open. Inside, it was normal. Too normal. Living room, couch, table, a lamp flickering softly, like someone had just left the room seconds ago. My name is Daniel Harris, and I hated how normal it looked, because nothing about this should have been normal. Hello, I called. No answer, just the soft hum of electricity. I moved slowly inside. Every step felt like it was being recorded. My flashlight swept across the room. No signs of struggle. No broken furniture. No blood. Just a house pretending to be alive. Then I heard it. A sound upstairs. A soft dragging noise. Something moving. I froze instantly. My radio crackled again. Leave the building. A voice said. My voice. I stepped back slightly. Who is this? I whispered. No answer. Then the dragging sound came again, but closer, like something had shifted positions upstairs. I pointed my flashlight toward the ceiling. Police. Identify yourself. I said firmly. Silence. Then a soft laugh. Not upstairs. Behind me. I turned fast. Nothing. Just the empty hallway. But the living room light flickered once, then stayed on, like the house had blinked. My breathing got heavier. I backed toward the door, but it wasn't where it was anymore. The hallway had stretched, longer, deeper, like the house had added space behind me. My name is Daniel Harris, and that's when I realized I wasn't in a normal structure. I was inside something that was adjusting itself around me. The radio spoke again. Slow, careful. You're inside the call now. My stomach dropped. That's impossible, I said. I'm responding to it. A pause. Then, no, it said. You are what responded. The upstairs noise came again, this time heavier, like footsteps, moving toward the stairs. I raised my flashlight slowly, and for half a second, I saw a shadow at the top landing, standing still, watching me. Then it was gone. The silence that followed felt wrong. Not peaceful, controlled, like something was holding its breath with me. My hand tightened around my flashlight. Anyone inside the house? I shouted, come down slowly. No answer, just a slow creak. 1 step on the stairs. Then another. I stepped back instinctively. My radio crackled violently, and suddenly a new voice came through. Not mine, not dispatcher. A woman's voice. Soft, desperate. He's still here. I froze. Ma'am, I said quickly. Where are you? A pause. Then, upstairs. The footsteps stopped. Directly above me. My heart started hammering. I aimed my flashlight at the staircase again. Come down now. I shouted. Silence. Then the voice again. Closer. Right above the stairs. He doesn't leave the house. My name is Daniel Harris, and I realized something in that moment. I wasn't responding to a call. I was inside it, and something upstairs had been waiting long enough to finally hear someone answer. My name is Daniel Harris. And the moment I stepped deeper into that house, I stopped trusting the sound of my own breathing, because it didn't feel like mine anymore. It felt shared, like something upstairs was breathing with me, matching my rhythm, learning me, The living room behind me stayed still. Too still. The lamp kept flickering at the same slow pace. Like it had a heartbeat it didn't want me to notice. I kept my flashlight aimed at the staircase. Every step I took backward felt like the house was deciding whether to allow it. Then I heard it again. A soft drag upstairs. But this time, closer. My name is Daniel Harris, and I whispered it under my breath like it could protect me. Daniel Harris, just keep moving. Just keep control. But control is a funny thing. It only works when the world agrees with you. The radio in my pocket crackled. I froze instantly. Static filled my ears. Then a whisper came through. Officer Harris. I stepped back toward the door, instinctively. Dispatch. I said quickly. Repeat last transmission. No answer. Just breathing again. Slow. Too close. The kind of breathing that makes you realize silence was never empty. It was occupied. I turned my head slowly. The living room looked unchanged. Couch, table, lamp, but something about it felt slightly misaligned, like the room had shifted a few inches to the left while I wasn't looking. My flashlight swept across the couch. That's when I noticed it. A cushion was indented, like someone had just stood up from it. I stopped breathing for a second. Hello? I called again. My voice didn't feel like it belonged to me anymore. No answer. Then the upstairs creaked again. But this time, there was a new sound underneath it. Footsteps. Descending. Slow. Careful. I tightened my grip on the flashlight. Police. Identify yourself immediately. I said. No response. But the footsteps continued. One step. Pause. Another step. Pause. Like someone was testing whether I would stay. My name is Daniel Harris, and I realized I was no longer alone in a simple way. I was being observed in layers. I moved toward the hallway that led to the stairs. The carpet felt softer than it should have been, almost damp. The smell changed too. Old wood mixed with something faintly metallic, like coins left in water too long. Halfway down the hall, I stopped because I saw something that made my stomach drop. A mirror on the wall. I don't remember it being there when I entered, but now it reflected the hallway perfectly, except my reflection was off. Not delayed, not distorted, just wrong. It stood a half second behind me, like it was thinking slower. I raised my flashlight slightly. The reflection didn't match. It stayed still for a moment longer than I did. Then it smiled. I didn't. I stepped back immediately. Okay, no, I whispered. That's not happening. My radio crackled again, this time louder. A new voice came through, a child's voice, soft, almost curious. Are you the new one? I froze. Where are you? I asked. The child didn't answer directly. Instead, he told us someone would come. My throat tightened. Who told you? A pause. Then, the one upstairs. The footsteps stopped again, right above the hallway. Right above me, my flashlight shook slightly now. My name is Daniel Harris, and I realized something worse than fear. This wasn't random. This was expected. The house wasn't surprised I was here. It had been waiting. I forced myself forward again. Each step felt heavier than the last. The living room behind me seemed farther away now, even though I hadn't moved much. Distance didn't behave normally here. Nothing did. I reached the base of the stairs. Looked up. Darkness swallowed the top landing. No visible figure. Just presence. Like something standing just outside the edge of light. Come down. I said again, voice lower now. We can talk. A pause. Then a soft sound. Not a step. A whisper sliding along the banister. You shouldn't be here, Daniel Harris. My blood ran cold. Because that was the first time it used my full name. Not officer. Not Harris. Daniel Harris. I tightened my grip on the flashlight. Identify yourself, I said again. Silence. Then the living room light flickered behind me. Once. Twice. I turned slightly. The couch cushion was now pressed deeper, like someone heavier had just sat down, but no one was there. When I turned back to the stairs, something had changed. A shadow now stood at the top. Still. Perfectly still, not moving, not breathing, just waiting. My name is Daniel Harris, and I felt something shift in the house. Not sound, not light, something deeper. Like the structure itself had decided I had reached a point where I could no longer leave the same way I came in. The radio suddenly went dead silent. No static, no breathing, just nothing. That silence lasted too long. Then the shadow at the top of the stairs took one step forward, and the living room door behind me clicked shut on its own, slowly, deliberately, like the house had just decided the conversation was no longer optional. My name is Daniel Harris, and I realized I was no longer responding to anything. I was being kept. The living room door had clicked shut behind me. Not slammed, not locked, just decided. Like the house didn't need violence anymore. It already had certainty. I turned slowly. The door handle didn't move when I tried it. It felt cold, not like metal, like something that had forgotten warmth existed. My radio stayed dead. No static, no whispers. That silence scared me more than any voice, because it meant something had stopped talking and started acting instead. My flashlight shook as I turned back toward the living room. That's when I saw it. A photo frame on the wall. I swear it wasn't there before. My name is Daniel Harris, and I walked closer without thinking. The frame was dusty. Old wood, cracked glass. Inside it was a family photo. A man, a woman, 2 children, standing in front of a house. This house, my stomach tightened, because I recognized the living room behind them. Same couch, same lamp, same table. But the people, they looked wrong in a familiar way, like a memory I didn't live through. I stepped closer. My flashlight hit the photo fully, and my breath stopped. The man in the picture looked like me, not similar, not distant resemblance. It was my face, just older, tired in a different way, like someone who had stopped expecting escape. No, I whispered. I touched the glass. It was cold, too cold. My reflection flickered in it for half a second. Then it wasn't mine anymore. It was a man in the photo, staring at me directly. My hand pulled back instantly. My name is Daniel Harris, and I stepped away fast. Okay, no, this is not real. But the house didn't react to my denial. It never did. Denial only works in places that allow truth. Behind me, the floor creaked, slow, measured, from the stairs. I turned quickly. Nothing there. But the sound continued. One step, pause. Another step, pause. Like something was learning how to be seen. My flashlight flicked back to the photo wall again, and I noticed something new. More frames, more photos. They weren't there before. I walked closer again, slower this time. Each frame showed the same family. Different years, different angles, but always the same house. Always this house. And always someone new added. In one photo, there were 3 people. In another, 4. In another, 5. My throat tightened because in the last one, there were 6. And one of them stood slightly apart, looking away, like they already knew what came next. My name is Daniel Harris, and I realized something was being added over time. Not memories. Occupants. The radio suddenly crackled back to life. I jumped. Static filled the room. Then a voice came through. A woman's voice. Soft. Calm. Too calm. You're looking at the family now. I froze. Who is this? I said quickly. No answer. Just a slow breath. Then, they always look different when you arrive. My grip tightened. What does that mean? A pause. Then, because someone is always missing. I looked back at the photos, and my stomach dropped. One frame was empty, not broken, not removed, just hollow, like a face had been erased from inside it. My reflection flickered again in the glass. But this time, I wasn't alone in it. Someone stood behind me in the reflection, right at the edge of the hallway, still watching. But when I turned, nothing, no one, only the empty hallway stretching behind me. My breathing got faster. Stop messing with me, I whispered, but even I didn't believe my voice. The house felt closer now, walls slightly tighter, air heavier, like it had decided I was worth containing. My name is Daniel Harris, and I moved toward the hallway again. Each step felt watched. The staircase was still dark, still waiting, but now I noticed something new. A photo frame at the base of the stairs. This one wasn't on the wall. It was placed on the floor, facing upward, as if it wanted me to see it from here. I crouched slowly. My flashlight beam hit it, and my stomach dropped again. It was a picture of the staircase. Empty, but in the background, at the top landing, someone was standing, watching down. I stood up quickly. "Okay," I said out loud. "Enough. I'm calling this in." My hand went to my radio. Dead again. No response. Just wait. I looked back at the photo. The figure at the top of the stairs was no longer blurry. It was clearer now, and it looked like it had just taken a step down. My name is Daniel Harris, and I realized the house wasn't showing me memories. It was updating them in real time. The footsteps above resumed, but now they were closer, slowly descending. One step, pause. Another step, pause. I backed away instinctively. The living room felt smaller now, the couch closer. The table shifted slightly, like the room was tightening around me. Then I saw something that made my blood go cold. Another photo frame had appeared on the wall, fresh, no dust. Inside it was me, standing in this exact room, holding a flashlight, looking at the photos. My heart slammed in my chest. "No," I whispered, because the picture wasn't taken yet, but it already existed. The footsteps stopped again, right behind the living room wall. A voice came through the radio one last time, but it wasn't the dispatcher. It wasn't the woman. It was a child again, and this time it sounded closer. "We found a new picture," it said softly. A pause. "Now you're part of it." The living room light flickered once, and when it came back on, the photo of me was already darker, like it had been waiting for me to stop resisting. And upstairs, something finally touched the bottom step. The basement door wasn't supposed to exist in this house, but it did, and now it was open, just slightly at first. A thin black line in the floor, where there should have been nothing but solid wall. My flashlight beam hit it, and the light didn't behave right. It didn't reflect back. It got swallowed. My breath slowed without permission, because I knew one thing for sure. That door had been locked when I entered. I remembered checking it. Twice. The handle was cold even then. Unmoving. Unquestioned. And now it was open. A soft sound came from below. Not a voice. Not a scream. Something worse. A waiting sound. Like silence holding its breath for too long. The living room behind me felt farther away than before. Not physically. Structurally. Like the house had stretched itself just enough to make turning back feel impossible. The flashlight shook slightly as it aimed down the stairs. Only darkness. Thick. Layered. Not empty. Occupied. The air coming from the basement smelled wrong. Damp wood. Old metal. And something faintly human underneath it. Like breath that had never finished exhaling. Then the radio cracked. Static at first. Then a voice slipped through. Low. Careful. You weren't supposed to see that door. My hand tightened around the flashlight. Who is this? I said quickly. No answer. Just a soft dragging sound from below. Slow. Deliberate. Like something adjusting itself to being heard. I took one step closer to the basement stairs. The wood creaked instantly. Not loud. Just enough. Like the house acknowledged my movement. Then stopped everything else. Even the air felt paused. I aimed the flashlight lower. The stairs disappeared halfway down. Not broken. Not collapsed. Just gone into darkness that refused to reflect anything back. The radio spoke again. Closer this time. You opened it earlier than you should have. My throat tightened. I didn't open anything. I whispered. A pause. Then the voice changed slightly. Not louder. Just more aware. Everything opens when you arrive. A chill ran through my chest. I stepped back instinctively. The living room light flickered once. Twice. Then stayed steady. Too steady. Like it was trying to prove nothing was wrong. But the silence downstairs didn't agree. Because now it had structure. Rhythm. like something was tapping slowly against the underside of the house. Once, pause. Twice, pause. My flashlight flicked downward again, and for a split second, there was movement at the bottom of the stairs. Not clear, just a shift, like something had turned its head toward the light. I froze completely. The radio hissed softly. Then a new voice came through. Not the first one. Not the same tone. This one sounded patient. You're closer than the others. My grip tightened. What others? I whispered. No answer. Just a faint sound like fabric dragging across concrete. Then silence again. But this silence felt different. Not empty. Focused. The basement door creaked wider on its own. Just a few inches more. Enough for the darkness inside to feel like it was leaning out. I stepped closer without realizing it, like my body had decided before my mind did. My flashlight trembled. The beam dropped lower, and I saw it, a shape at the bottom of the stairs. Still, waiting, not moving toward me, not retreating, just existing in a way that felt intentional, like it had been waiting long enough to stop needing motion. My breath caught. The radio whispered again. This is where the last one stayed. My stomach dropped. The word last didn't feel like a time. It felt like a position, a place someone gets stuck in. The shape at the bottom shifted slightly. Not stepping, just acknowledging, like it knew I could finally see it. The basement air pushed upward then. Cold, heavy, almost like it was trying to climb out instead of inviting me in. I stepped back again, but the door didn't close. It opened further, slow, patient, certain, and that's when I realized something worse. The house wasn't reacting to fear. It was reacting to attention. The more I focused on it, the more it responded. The radio gave one last burst of static. Then the voice returned. Soft, final, you should come down now. A pause. It's lonely when only one side of the house is awake. The basement darkness shifted again, closer, not physically, but knowingly, like it had just learned I was still standing above it. And in that moment, the stairs below creaked once. Not from me, from something deciding it was finally time to climb. I still remember the first time the radio stopped sounding like a radio. It was supposed to be a normal night patrol, the kind where nothing ever happens, and you start questioning why you even wear the uniform. I was driving along Route 17, windows half down, letting the cold air keep me awake even though I didn't need it. The road was empty in that uncomfortable way, like the world had forgotten to place anything alive on it. I checked my patrol radio out of habit more than expectation, because most nights it only gave me silence or dispatch updates I didn't care about. But that night, the silence wasn't what answered. A crackle came first, soft and uneven, like something trying to breathe through the speaker. I frowned and tapped the radio twice, thinking it might be a loose connection or a bad signal from the hills. Then I heard it say my name, not my call sign, not my badge number, my actual name. I went still for a second, staring at the dashboard like it might explain itself. The radio crackled again, and this time the voice was clearer, too calm to belong to dispatch. Deputy, the voice said, and it sounded too close, like it was sitting inside my cab. I looked around instinctively. Even though I already knew there was no one there, the road outside was still empty, but the fog seemed thicker than before, swallowing the edges of my headlights. I keyed the mic and asked dispatch if anyone else was on the line. All I got was static, but buried inside it, I thought I heard breathing again. The same slow inhale, like someone listening instead of speaking. I turned the volume down, then back up, hoping it was just interference from the storm front rolling in. But the voice returned without warning, softer this time, almost patient. You shouldn't be on this frequency, it said. I felt a tightness in my chest, the kind you get when something familiar suddenly stops behaving the way it should. I checked the radio display again, expecting to see some obvious malfunction code, but the display was flickering between normal frequency numbers and something else I couldn't recognize. I leaned closer, squinting as the numbers shifted like they were being rewritten in real time. The radio suddenly cut to a different voice, one I didn't recognize but somehow felt familiar in a way that made me uneasy. I asked again who it was. but the response wasn't an answer. It was a location instead. Mile marker 12. I hesitated, because I knew that stretch of road had a reputation among deputies, the kind of stories you don't repeat over coffee. But I had driven it 100 times before, without anything unusual happening. So I told myself it was just a glitch, and kept driving forward. The moment I said that, the radio went completely silent again, like it was listening to my decision. But silence didn't last long, because my name came back through the speaker, louder than before, almost angry. I felt my grip tighten on the wheel, without me telling it to. The fog ahead shifted suddenly, like something massive had moved inside it. I slowed down instinctively, even though no one had told me to. "Deputy, are you there again?" The voice now sounded closer than the first time, like it was inside the vehicle with me. I looked at the passenger seat, even though I already knew it would be empty. But something felt wrong about the emptiness, like it had weight. The radio crackled again, sharper this time, almost like it was forcing its way through interference. I pulled over the side of the road, heart beating harder than it should have been for a routine patrol. The second I stopped the car, the radio stopped with me. Then it whispered something that made my stomach drop. "You already crossed it." I sat there in silence, staring at the dark road ahead, trying to convince myself I had not made a mistake. But deep down, I knew something on that frequency had already started following me. I restarted the engine, but it sounded different, like it didn't belong to my car anymore. The radio came back on without me touching it, and this time, the voice didn't introduce itself. It just said, "Don't go past 12." I felt a cold rush run through my body that had nothing to do with the weather. The road ahead seemed longer now, like it was stretching away from me on purpose. I checked my rear view mirror, expecting to see headlights from another patrol unit, but there was nothing behind me except fog that looked almost solid. The radio let out a sound that wasn't static, but something closer to the side. It said my name one more time, and then everything went quiet in a way that felt like a warning. I realized I could no longer tell where the road ended and the darkness began. The horizon had disappeared completely, swallowed by a fog that didn't behave like weather anymore. I pressed the radio button again, even though I knew I shouldn't. It responded immediately. A voice came through that wasn't the same as before. It sounded calmer, almost certain. The kind of calm that doesn't belong to the living. "You're closer now," it said. I felt my throat tighten as I looked at the road sign ahead, trying to focus through the blur of fog and headlights. The sign was supposed to say 13 miles to the next town, but the numbers were wrong. It flickered between 12 and something I couldn't read. I blinked hard, thinking fatigue was messing with my vision, but the numbers stayed wrong. The radio spoke again, softer than before, almost like it was trying to comfort me. "You don't have to turn back," it said. I didn't answer, because I wasn't sure which direction back even meant anymore. I saw something move again in the fog, not ahead this time, but beside me. The passenger seat felt colder, like the air itself had shifted. The radio gave a low static pulse, like a heartbeat trying to match mine. It said my name again, but this time it didn't sound like a call. It sounded like a signature. I realized the radio wasn't broken. It was rewriting something, and I was still listening. The road ahead seemed to fold into itself, like the world was trying to close a wound. I kept driving even though I was no longer sure I was moving forward, because every direction felt the same, like distance had lost meaning and time was folding back on itself inside the fog. The radio stayed quiet for a moment, and in that silence, I almost believed I could escape it. But then it whispered one final thing that made me realize I never had a chance to begin with. The fog outside thickened until the headlights could barely cut through it, and somewhere deep inside the radio, I heard what sounded like another officer answering the same call I once answered, repeating the same mistake I had just made without knowing it. I realized in that mile marker 12 wasn't a place on the road, but a point you reached when the radio decided you were ready to be heard by something that never stopped calling. And even as I tried to pull away, the voice inside the speaker calmly welcomed me deeper into it. All I could hear after that was my own breathing mixing with static, and I stopped being sure which one belonged to me anymore. In the end, it never let go completely silent. I thought I could ignore it after that night. I really did. I told myself it was a bad frequency glitch, Maybe some old radio bleed from another unit. Something technical I could explain if I just stopped thinking about it too deeply. But the problem with sounds like that is, they don't stay in the radio. They stay in you. 2 days passed without anything unusual. Normal patrols. Normal silence. Normal roads that looked exactly like they always had. But I kept noticing small things I couldn't explain. The radio would sometimes turn on for half a second before I touched it. Not long enough for sound. Just enough for a feeling. Like someone checking if I was still listening. On the third night, I finally said out loud in the car, "Whatever this is, stop." The radio didn't respond. And that silence felt worse than the voice. Because now I knew it was choosing when to speak. That night, I got a call from dispatch just after midnight. Routine check-in. Nothing unusual. But halfway through call, the dispatcher paused, like she was reading something she didn't understand. Then she said something that made my grip tighten on the steering wheel. "Hey, do you recognize a Deputy Harris on your end?" I frowned immediately. "No," I said. "Why?" A long pause followed. Too long. Then she answered in a slower voice. "Because his radio is active again." My stomach dropped before I even understood what she meant. Active radios don't belong to dead officers. That's not how any of this works. I asked her to repeat it, but she changed the subject fast, like she regretted saying it at all. Still, I couldn't unhear it. Deputy Harris. The name stayed in my head like a bruise I didn't know I had. I remembered something then. A story from training. One of the older officers mentioned a deputy who went missing near Route 17 years ago. Single patrol. Late shift. Fog so thick they called it blank weather. He signed off the radio at mile marker 12. Then never came back. They found the vehicle later. Empty. Engine still running. Radio still on. But no deputy inside. I told myself it was just coincidence. Names repeat. Roads repeat. Stories repeat. But the moment I ended my shift that night, my radio turned itself on again. And this time, it didn't call my name. It called his. "Deputy Harris," the voice whispered. I froze in my seat. So fast, I didn't even realize I had stopped breathing. The dashboard lights flickered once, like they were reacting to something in the air. I didn't respond. I couldn't. The voice came again, softer. "Why are you still answering calls that aren't yours?" My hand slowly moved toward the radio, without me deciding to. But before I touched it, a second voice came through underneath the first one. Fainter, broken, like it was coming from deeper inside the frequency. "I didn't leave," it said. That wasn't my voice. That wasn't dispatch. That was someone else trying to speak through layers of static and distance that didn't make sense. I whispered, "Harris?" The radio immediately reacted. A burst of static hit. So hard I pulled it away from my ear. Then silence again. But now the silence felt occupied, like something was standing in it. I didn't drive home right away. I sat there on the side of the road, engine idling, tried to convince myself I was tired, overthinking, letting old stories mess with my head. Then the fog rolled in. Too fast, too thick, not weather speed, decision speed, like it was responding to me sitting there. And inside it, I saw headlights. One set, parked ahead on the shoulder, a patrol car. My first instinct was backup. Then I noticed something wrong. The paint wasn't right. Too old. The model was older too, boxier, like it belonged to a different decade. And on the side door, a name, Harris. My chest tightened so hard it felt like I had been hit. I didn't move. I just stared. The radio turned itself on again. No static this time. Just a voice that sounded tired in a way that felt personal. "You see it now." I whispered, "That's not possible." The voice answered immediately. It was... The car ahead wasn't just parked. The driver's door was open, and something inside was still on the seat. A uniform, folded neatly, like it had been placed there after someone stepped out and never came back. My fingers went cold around the steering wheel. Then the radio did something it had never done before. It played a memory, not sound. A moment, a burst of breathing, wind, and a voice calling for backup that cut off halfway through. Then screaming, not loud, controlled, like someone trying not to panic while disappearing. And then Harris spoke, clearer than before. "Don't cross 12 alone." The radio snapped back to silence. I stepped out of the car before I even decided to. That's the part that scared me later. Not that I went closer, but that I didn't feel like I had a choice. The fog swallowed everything past my headlights. The abandoned patrol car sat there like it had been waiting years instead of minutes. I approached slowly, each step louder than it should have been. When I reached the driver's side, I saw the radio still inside. Old model, different frequency display, but it was on, waiting, like it recognized me. I reached for it, and the moment my fingers touched it, the speaker whispered my name again. But this time it wasn't alone. Another voice overlapped it, Deputy Harris, and underneath both of them, something else. Something that didn't sound human at all, just the road, breathing. I pulled my hand back fast, but the radio kept speaking even after I let go. "You're standing where I stood," Harris said. I stepped back. "What happened to you?" A pause. Then the truth came through like it had been waiting years to finally be said. I never left the call. The wind shifted hard enough that the fog moved like a curtain being pulled, and for a split second, I saw him. Not clearly, not fully, but enough. A figure standing beside the abandoned car, uniformed, not solid, like a reflection that forgot what it was reflecting. His face kept shifting between focus and absence, like the road couldn't decide what memory to keep. I backed away slowly. The radio in my car turned on again behind me without me touching it. Harris spoke through both radios at once now. "You're repeating my shift." My voice cracked. "I'm not dead." A long silence. Then a response that didn't comfort me at all. Neither was I. The fog thickened again, tighter this time, like it was closing around the moment. I got back into my car fast, slammed the door, locked it even though I knew locks didn't matter anymore. The engine started on its own. I didn't ask it to. The abandoned patrol car behind me flickered, like it was losing consistency, like it wasn't sure it existed anymore. The radio voice softened again. Not Harris this time. Something layered beneath him. "You're close to the point where I signed off," it said. I gripped the wheel. "Where is that?" Harris answered instead. "Mile marker 12. My throat tightened. "It's just a road marker," I said. Harris almost sounded sad. "It used to be." The headlights ahead of me appeared again. Not distant now. Closer. And I realized something I didn't want to understand. I wasn't being guided forward. I was being returned. The radio clicked once. Then Harris spoke one last time before the signal broke. "When you hear the final transmission, don't answer like I did." The radio went silent, and the road ahead opened like it was waiting to see if I would make the same mistake he already had. I kept driving, because stopping felt like agreeing. And somewhere deep inside the static that was slowly building again, I could already hear the next call forming, patient and inevitable, waiting for me to pick it up like every deputy before me had done at mile marker 12. I stopped pretending I had control the moment the radio said, "Final transmission," because after that, the road started answering back. I don't know how else to explain it. The highway didn't feel like asphalt anymore. It felt alive, like it was remembering things I hadn't lived yet. My patrol car kept moving forward, but the fog wasn't just around me now. It was inside the headlights, inside the mirrors, inside the radio static that never fully left. And somewhere in all of it, Deputy Harris was still there. Not gone, not finished, just waiting in the wrong place. The radio crackled again while I crossed a stretch of road I swear I had driven 100 times before, but this time it felt different. Too quiet, like the world was holding its breath. "Don't stop at the marker," Harris said suddenly. His voice came in sharp, like he was closer than before. I tightened my grip on the wheel. I didn't even see it yet. A pause, then softer. "You will." That was the part that made my stomach twist, because a few seconds later, I did. Mile marker 12. But it wasn't like before. It wasn't just a sign on the roadside anymore. It was standing closer. Too close. Like the road itself had moved it forward just for me. I slowed down without meaning to, and the radio immediately reacted. "No!" Harris said quickly. Don't slow down here. My foot froze over the brake. The headlights flickered once, and in that blink of darkness, I saw something standing right next to the marker. Not a person, not fully, just a shape of one, stretched wrong, like it had been copied too many times from memory. I forced my foot back onto the accelerator. The car jerked forward. The moment I passed a marker, the radio screamed static, so loud it felt physical. I almost ripped it out of the console, but then Harris shouted through it. You felt that? That's where it started again. I swallowed hard. What started? A long pause followed. The kind of pause that feels like someone choosing how honest they're allowed to be. Then he said it. The reset. The word didn't make sense at first, but my body understood it before my mind did, because suddenly the road behind me looked too clean, too perfect, like nothing had ever driven on it. I checked the mirror again. The mile marker was gone. Completely. Not broken. Not faded. Just erased. My breath hitched. That's not possible. Harris answered quietly. It wasn't supposed to be possible when it happened to me either. The radio clicked again, softer now, like it was struggling to stay open. And then I heard something else. Not Harris. Not dispatch. A third voice leaking through frequency. Calm. Empty. Patient. Deputy? My hands went cold instantly. Harris reacted fast. Don't listen to it. The voice ignored him. Deputy, you're on an open line. I looked at the radio like it had betrayed me. I didn't call anyone. I whispered. The voice responded immediately. You always call us when you cross 12. The road ahead flickered. Not visually, but emotionally, like the feeling of driving forward suddenly didn't belong to me anymore. Harris spoke again, urgent now. He's trying to complete the loop. My throat tightened. Who is he? Silence. Then Harris answered in a lower tone. The road. A cold wave ran through my chest at that. I laughed once without meaning to. That doesn't make sense. But even as I said it, the road bent slightly ahead, not physically breaking, just rearranging, like something underneath it shifted its position. The car radio crackled harder. The third voice returned. You signed in when you answered the first call. My pulse spiked. I didn't sign anything. A pause. Then, you listened. That hit harder than anything else so far. Because it was true. I did listen. I kept listening. Harris suddenly interrupted. Don't engage it. It learns faster when you respond. I forced my breathing steady. Then what do? Another pause. Longer this time. Then Harris said something that made everything in my chest tighten. I tried to leave the road. The radio hissed softly, like it didn't like that sentence. And I asked. His voice dropped lower. It didn't let me finish leaving. The headlights flickered again, and this time I saw it clearly. The same patrol car from before. Ahead of me, parked, again, but now it wasn't on the shoulder. It was in the middle of the road, blocking everything. I hit the brakes. Hard. The tires screeched. The car stopped inches before impact, but there was no impact, no sound, just silence, because the patrol car wasn't solid. It was flickering in and out of existence, like a bad signal trying to become real. Harris whispered, "Don't get out," but I already knew I would. Not because I wanted to, because the door handle moved by itself, slowly, like something outside was checking if I was ready to continue. The radio exploded into static again, and underneath it, the third voice spoke one final line. You are almost at where he signed off. The door opened a crack. Cold air rushed in, and in that moment, I understood something I didn't want to accept. Mile marker 12 wasn't behind me anymore. It was everywhere I stopped believing it existed. I stepped out. The fog swallowed the sound of the engine immediately, like it had been waiting for me to leave the safety of noise. The abandoned patrol car stood ahead of me again, real this time, or close enough that it didn't matter anymore. And inside it, I saw the radio glowing. Waiting. Harris spoke softly through my radio one last time. If you pick it up, you hear what I heard. I asked, barely breathing. And if I don't? A long silence followed. Then Harris answered. Then you stay in between. The wind shifted. The fog opened slightly. And for the first time, I saw what he meant by between. The road didn't end ahead. It repeated, like a reflection that couldn't decide which version was real. And in the center of it all, the radio kept calling my name. Not asking, not warning, just repeating it, patiently, like it already knew I would answer. And as I stood there between leaving and becoming part of the loop, I realized the final transmission wasn't something I would hear later. It was something already playing, waiting for me to accept that I had always been on it. The radio crackled softly one last time, and Harris whispered, almost like a goodbye he never got to say before. Don't let it make you sign off the same way I did. The fog closing again, and I reached for the radio. Rain wasn't supposed to fall this hard in June, but it did. It came down like the sky was trying to erase the ground. My windshield wipers were already struggling when dispatch came to the radio, voice broken by static and weather. Unit 4, possible welfare check, rural field near Old Hargrove Road. I adjusted the radio volume, squinting through the storm. Repeat that, I said. A pause. Then the voice came back slower, uneasy. Caller reports a woman standing in the field. Hasn't moved for over an hour. I glanced at the road ahead. Empty. No lights. No houses. Just long stretches of wet grass bending under the wind like something was crawling underneath it. Any description? I asked. Another pause. That one felt longer than it should have. White dress. Long hair. Face not visible. Caller says she hasn't reacted to anything. I let out a slow breath. In my line of work, people see things wrong all the time in storms. Shadows become people. Trees become figures. But something about the dispatcher's voice didn't sound like normal caution. It sounded like hesitation, like she didn't want to go. I turned the wheel left onto Old Hargrove Road. The tires hit puddles deep enough to shake the whole car. The farther I drove, the more the world started to disappear. Fields on both sides stretched endlessly. But the rain made everything look flat, like depth itself had been washed out. Then I saw it, at first just a shape, a vertical line that didn't belong in the landscape. I slowed down without realizing. My headlights cut through the rain, and the shape slowly became a person, standing in the middle of the field, not on the road, not near it, in it, right in the open storm. I parked on the roadside, engine still running, wipers still fighting the rain like they were angry at the sky. I stepped out. The moment the door closed behind me, the sound changed. The world got louder in a strange way. Rain hitting my jacket felt heavier, sharper. Wind moving through grass sounded like whispering, but I couldn't make out words. I pulled my flashlight from my belt, clicked it on. The beam cut through the rain and landed on her. She was exactly like dispatch said. White dress, soaked completely through, clinging to her like it weighed nothing. Hair hanging over her face, dripping water nonstop. She was standing perfectly still. No sway, no reaction to wind, nothing. I called out, "Ma'am, are you okay?" No answer. I stepped forward slowly, boots sinking into wet soil. Each step made a sucking sound that felt too loud in the storm. "Ma'am," I repeated louder this time. Still nothing. I raised the flashlight slightly. The beam moved up her body, and that's when I noticed something wrong. She wasn't facing me, but she also wasn't facing away. It was like her body was angled in a direction that didn't align with anything around her, like she wasn't oriented properly in space. I stopped walking. My breath slowed without me wanting it to. "Hey," I said, softer now. "Can you hear me?" A long moment passed. Rain filled every silence. Then she moved, not her body. Her head, just slightly. Not turning, just tilting, like she was listening to something behind me. I turned fast. Nothing, just empty field and rain. When I looked back, she hadn't changed position, but something felt different, closer. I took another step. The ground here was softer than I expected, almost sinking, like the earth hadn't fully formed in this spot. I spoke into my radio. "Dispatch, I've located the subject." Static answered first. Then dispatch came through, but her voice was tighter now. "Is she responsive?" I looked at her. No, I said. She hasn't moved except. I stopped because I realized something. I hadn't actually seen her blink. Not once. Except what? Dispatch asked. I hesitated. Nothing. Stand by. I lowered the radio. The rain suddenly felt colder. The kind of cold that goes through gloves, through skin, straight into bone. I walked closer again. 10 feet. Then 5. Close enough now to see her hands. They were hanging by her sides. Too still. Too relaxed. Like she wasn't holding her own weight. Ma'am, I said again. My voice sounded smaller now. Can you turn around for me? That's when the air changed. Not the weather. The air itself. Like pressure shifted behind my shoulders. She didn't move, but I felt like she had heard me. I raised the flashlight higher. The beam hit her face area. Hair covered everything, but underneath it, something felt wrong. Not visible wrong. Conceptually wrong. Like my brain refused to fully register what it was seeing. A part of me wanted to step back. Another part wanted answers. So I stepped closer. The mud pulled at my boots harder now. Each step felt like it cost something. Ma'am, I said again, slower, I need you to turn around. The rain suddenly got louder. Or maybe everything else got quieter. She finally spoke. One word. Soft, almost lost in the storm. Don't. I froze. My entire body locked in place. Don't what? I asked. No response. Just rain. Just wind. Just the feeling that the field behind me wasn't empty anymore. I turned my head slightly. Nothing there. But I didn't believe it. When I looked back at her, she was still the same. Still not facing me. Still standing. But now I was certain of something I couldn't explain. She wasn't alone out here when I arrived. The radio in my hand suddenly cracked to life. No dispatch voice. Just static. Then a faint tone underneath it. Like another transmission bleeding through. A man's voice tried to break through the noise. Unclear. Distant. Panicked. Then gone. I looked at her again. Who are you? I asked. The wind dropped for half a second. Just one. Like the world held its breath. And in that silence, she slightly tilted her head again. This time toward me. Not fully. Just enough to make me realize she wasn't reacting to my voice. She was reacting to something behind me. And I didn't turn around. Because I already knew whatever was there was closer than it should have been. The moment I realized she wouldn't turn around, the rain started feeling wrong. Not heavier, not stronger, just intentional. Like it was falling in patterns I wasn't supposed to notice. I stayed frozen for a second too long, staring at her back, waiting for something normal to happen. Nothing did. No movement. No response. Just that white dress clinging to her, like it had never been dry in its life. I took a slow step closer. Mud pulled at my boot like it didn't want to let me go back. Ma'am, I said again, quieter this time, I need you to face me. No answer, but the wind shifted slightly. Not around me. Behind me, I felt it brush the back of my neck like a warning. I almost turned. Almost. But something stopped me. Not courage. Instinct. That deep, uneasy instinct that tells you turning your head might be the last decision you make. I spoke into my radio without looking away from her. Dispatch, subject still unresponsive. Standing in field. No visible injury. Static answered first. Longer than before. Then dispatch came through, but her voice sounded different now. Tighter. Careful. Copy that. Officer. Do you see anyone else out there with her? I frowned. No, I said, but I didn't sound sure, because I wasn't. The field behind me felt occupied. Not visually. Emotionally. Like space had been filled without sound. I took another step forward. Now I was close enough to see the texture of her dress. It wasn't just soaked. It looked heavy, like it had absorbed more than water, like it was pulling downward with something unseen inside it. Ma'am, I said again, can you tell me what happened? A pause. Then she moved, but not how I expected. Her shoulders didn't turn. Her body didn't shift. Only her fingers twitched. Just once, like something inside her hand had tried to wake up I stepped closer fast without thinking. Hey, did you feel that? No response, but the radio in my hand suddenly hissed. Not static, something worse, like breath caught in metal. Then a voice broke, not dispatch, not familiar. Man, low, broken. Don't look at her too long. My grip tightened instantly. Who is this? I snapped into the radio. Only static answered. Then silence again. I looked at her, still standing, still facing away. But now I noticed something I hadn't before. Her head wasn't perfectly still anymore. It was slightly angled. Not toward me, not away, just wrong. Like she was listening in two directions at once. I took another step. The ground here felt softer than it should have been for open field soil. Like something underneath had hollowed it out. Ma'am, I said again, voice losing patience now. Turn around, or I'm going to have to. I stopped because I didn't finish that sentence. I couldn't. The moment I raised my voice, the rain slowed. Not stopped, just hesitated, like even the weather was listening. And in that half second of unnatural quiet, I heard something behind me, a footstep. Slow, not close, not far, just aligned with mine, like it moved when I moved. I froze completely, didn't turn, didn't breathe. The radio crackled again on its own. This time, dispatch didn't speak, only static. Then that same broken male voice returned, closer than before. She's not the problem. My throat tightened. I forced my eyes back to the woman. She hadn't changed, still facing away, still unmoving. But now I was certain of something I didn't want to accept. She wasn't what I was here for. I swallowed hard. Then what is... I whispered into the radio. A pause. Long. Heavy. Then the voice answered. You are... The wind dropped completely. That was the first moment I understood I was no longer in normal weather. The field didn't feel like a field anymore. It felt like a boundary. Like I had stepped into something that only looked like reality from far away. I finally spoke again, but my voice came out thinner. Dispatch. I need backup. Silence. No response. Just the sound of my own breathing mixing with the rain again. Like nothing had ever interrupted it. I looked at the woman again. And that's when she tilted her head slightly more. Not turning. Never turning. Just enough for me to realize she was no longer listening to what was in front of her. She was listening to what was standing directly behind me. And I still didn't turn around. Because deep down, I understood something terrifying. If I acknowledged it, it would become real enough to answer. The rain didn't fall anymore. It pressed, like the sky had lowered itself onto the field just to listen closer. I stood there, stuck between two things I couldn't see properly. Her in front of me, and whatever had been named me behind me. My breathing felt too loud, too personal, like it didn't belong in the air anymore. The radio in my hand cracked once, then went dead. No static, no dispatch, nothing. That silence was worse than the voice. Because now I knew something had learned how to shut it up. I swallowed hard and forced my eyes back to her. Still there, still not turning. But now something was different. The white dress wasn't just wet anymore. It looked darker at the bottom, like the ground beneath her had started pulling color out of it, slowly, patiently. I tried to speak, but my throat tightened before words came out. Ma'am, I managed finally. I need you to tell me what you see. No response, but the air shifted again, behind me, closer this time. I didn't move. I didn't even blink. I felt it more than I heard it, a presence aligning itself with my spine, matching my stillness, copying me without sound. The woman in front of me tilted her head again, a little more than before, and for the first time, I wasn't sure she was reacting to me, or to what was behind me. A thought hit me too fast. If she never turned around, maybe she wasn't refusing. Maybe she couldn't. My hand tightened around my flashlight. Dispatch. I said again, even though I already knew no one would answer. Static returned instantly. Not random this time. Structured, like it had rhythm. Like something was tapping through it. Then the voice came back. Not the dispatcher. Not the broken man either. Something new. Calm. Too calm. You're standing in the overlap. My stomach dropped. I whispered, "What overlap?" A pause. Then the voice answered like it was explaining something simple. Between what sees and what is seen. The words made no sense, but my body reacted anyway. Cold ran through my arms. My grip loosened for half a second, and in that half second, I heard the woman breathe. Just once. Soft, like she had been holding it in for a very long time. My eyes snapped back to her instantly. "Did you just..." I stopped because her fingers were moving again. Slowly now, not twitching, not reacting. Moving like she was trying to remember how hands worked. The wind picked up suddenly, and the field around us bent with it. Grass leaned inward, not away from the storm. Toward her, toward us, behind me. Something stepped again. This time I was sure. One step, close enough that the mud shifted. I closed my eyes for half a second. Bad decision, because in that darkness, I heard something I shouldn't have. My name, not spoken like a call, spoken like recognition, like something had been watching me long enough to learn it. My eyes shot open. The woman hadn't moved much, but now she was slightly angled, still not facing me, but no longer fully turned away, like her body was caught between directions it didn't understand. "Turn around," I said suddenly, not to her, not fully, to the space, to whatever was behind me. The moment I said it, the rain stopped completely, instantly, not fading, not slowing, just gone. The silence that followed was absolute, and in that silence, I heard breathing, right behind my left shoulder. Not loud, not aggressive, just close enough that I felt it move the fabric of my uniform. I froze. Every instinct screamed at me to turn. But something deeper, something older, said, "If you turn, you confirm it exists in your world." I didn't move. Neither did it. The woman in front of me finally spoke again. One word, clearer this time, stronger. "Don't." My chest tightened. "Don't what?" I asked. She didn't answer, but now I saw it. Her head wasn't just tilted. It was slowly correcting itself, like something was trying to align her vision, not with me, not with the field, with the thing behind me. The radio suddenly flickered back on in my hand. No static, just a clean tone, one single transmission. Then the broken man's voice returned, but it didn't sound broken anymore. It sounded resigned. "She knows your name now." My blood ran cold. I whispered, "That's impossible." The woman in front of me shifted again, and this time I felt it, not saw, felt a subtle pressure change behind me, like something had leaned forward slightly. Curious, listening, the grass around my boots stopped moving entirely. Even the wind refused to touch that space anymore. The radio clicked once, then the calm voice returned. "You asked her to turn around." My throat went dry. Yes, I admitted. A pause. Then the voice said something that made my stomach drop completely. "That is how it notices you." The words hit harder than anything before it, because I realized something at that exact moment. The woman in front of me wasn't the warning. She was the mirror, and I had been standing too long in front of it. Behind me, the breathing stopped. For a second, just one, and in that silence, I understood the worst part. Whatever was behind me was no longer waiting for me to turn. It already knew what I looked like. The holding cell wasn't supposed to be empty. That was the first thing the supervisor told me before he left. "Just don't let it drop below your attention," he said. "And don't trust what you hear in there after midnight." Then he walked away like that explained everything. It didn't. Now I'm sitting here alone in the observation room, staring through reinforced glass at cell 3. Empty. At least it looks empty. The fluorescent lights above me keep buzzing like they're tired. Every few seconds, they flicker just enough to make the shadows in the corridor stretch and shrink like they're breathing. My radio is on the desk. Silent. Too silent. Because usually, even quiet nights have something. Paperwork, distant voices, doors locking somewhere deep in the building. Tonight feels sealed off, like someone shut the whole station inside a box and forgot to leave air holes. I glance at the log sheet again. Overnight watch assigned. Incident containment. No inmate listed. That line bothers me. No inmate listed, but still a cell under watch. I lean closer to the glass. Cell 3 is small. Concrete walls. A metal bench bolted to the floor. Drain in the center, like all the others. Nothing unusual, but I keep looking anyway, because something about it feels wrong in a way I can't name. Like it's slightly out of sync with the rest of the hallway. The corridor lights outside the cell are dimmer than they should be. Or maybe the cell is brighter. I can't tell. That's the problem. My radio suddenly clicks. I jump slightly. Then I realize it's just interference. No voice. Just a soft crackle like someone tapped it once from the inside. I stare at it, then at the cell. Nothing has changed. Still empty. Still locked. Still quiet. I check the monitor feed beside me. Same image. Same cell. But for half a second, I swear I see something shift in the corner of the screen. I blink. It's gone. Too much coffee. I mutter under my breath. My voice sounds too loud in the room. I lean back in my chair, trying to relax my shoulders. That's when I hear it. A sound down the hallway. Metal. Soft. Like a slow step dragging across concrete. I freeze. Listen. Nothing again. Just the hum of electricity. I tell myself it's the building settling. Old stations make noises. That's normal. But then, another sound. Closer this time. Footsteps. Slow. Measured. Not running. Not lost. Walking like they know exactly where they're going. I stand up without thinking. Walk to the glass. Look down the corridor. Empty. No guards. No movement. Just long, sterile hallways stretching into darkness. I grab the radio. Press the button. Control, do you copy? Static answers immediately. Too sharp. Too fast. Then silence again. No response. I release the button slowly. My reflection stares back at me in the glass. Tired eyes. Stiff posture. Nothing unusual. But then I notice something that makes my chest tighten. My reflection is looking slightly to the side. Not at me. At the hallway behind me. I spin around instantly. Nothing there. Just the same empty room. Chair. Desk. Flickering light. But my heart is already racing now. Because reflections don't do that. I turn back to glass. My reflection is normal again. Facing me. Still, I swallow hard. Okay, I whisper. Okay, just calm down. The footsteps come again. This time from inside the building structure itself. Not the hallway. Not the floor. Somewhere deeper. Like they're inside the walls. I take a slow step back. The radio clicks again. This time, not static. A voice. Faint. Barely there. Open. I freeze. Control. I say quickly. No answer. Just that same voice again. Is it open? My mouth goes dry. I look at cell 3. The door is still locked. Deadbolt in place. Nothing moved. And yet, I feel like I'm being asked something I don't understand. I step closer to the glass again. The cell light flickers. Just once. And in that flicker, I see it. Not a person. Not clearly. Just a shape sitting on the bench. Head lowered. Still, my breath stops. I lean in closer. The light stabilizes. Empty again. Bench is bare. No movement. No shape. I step back so fast the chair scrapes behind me. Nope. I whisper. Nope, that's not. The radio cuts in again. Louder this time. Closer. You're watching it. I look at it. My hand is shaking now. I don't know who this is. I say into the radio. Identify yourself. A pause. Then, you're supposed to be alone. My throat tightens. I am alone. The footsteps stop. Dead silence. Even the building noise disappears for a second. Like everything is waiting to hear the response. Then the voice returns. Not through the radio this time. From a hallway speaker above the door. Calm. Clear. Right outside my room. You shouldn't be alone with it. My pulse spikes. I back away from the glass, slowly. Who is it? I say out loud. No answer. Just silence again. Then, a sound from cell 3. Metal scraping. Slow, like something dragging itself up from sitting. I turn back instantly, and for the first time, I see the door handle move, just slightly, downward, like something inside is testing whether it can come out. I step back again. My back hits the desk. Radio falls slightly, still crackling, and in that crackle, a final whisper slips through. Don't let it be seen alone. The cell light flickers again, and this time, I don't look away fast enough. The footsteps started after I stopped breathing. Not because I wanted to, because something inside me just forgot how. The hallway speaker went silent again, like it had said what it needed to say and didn't want to explain itself. But the damage was already done. Don't let it be seen alone. That line kept looping in my head, like a warning that arrived too late to be useful. I stood near the desk, watching Cell 3 without blinking, waiting for it to do something that would make sense. It didn't. No more movement. No more door handle shifting. Just silence so thick it felt physical. I slowly picked up the radio again. Pressed the button. Control. Respond. Static. Then nothing. No backup. No confirmation. Like the entire building had decided not to hear me anymore. I looked back at the cell. Still locked. Still quiet. Still wrong. That's when I noticed the first change. The light above Cell 3 was slightly brighter than the others now. Not flickering. Stable. Too stable. Like it had locked onto something. I frowned. Walked closer to the glass again. My reflection followed me. But this time, it lagged half a second behind. I stopped instantly. My reflection didn't. It kept moving. One more step. Then stopped after me. I felt my stomach tighten. No! I whispered. That's not real. But the reflection didn't care. It was looking at Cell 3. Not me, not the room, just the cell. Like I wasn't even part of the equation anymore. Then, footsteps again. But not in the hallway. Inside it, inside the walls. Closer, faster this time. Like something had realized I was paying attention now. I stepped back from the glass. My radio cracked loudly. This time the voice was clearer. Almost irritated. Why are you still watching it? My hand tightened around the radio. I'm assigned to this post. I said, what is going on in Cell 3? A pause. Then, there is no Cell 3. My chest went cold. I looked at the door again. The number plate was right there. Clear. Metal. Stamped. 3. I swallowed. That's not funny. No answer. Just breathing. Not mine. Not through the radio. Somewhere else in the room. Slow. Controlled. Behind me. I froze. Didn't turn. Didn't move. Because I suddenly remembered what the supervisor said. Don't trust what you hear after midnight. But this wasn't after midnight yet. So what was this? The breathing stopped. Then a soft sound came from the cell. Not a bang. Not a slam. A tap. Once. Like a finger hitting metal from the inside. I forced myself to speak. Control. I said into the radio. I need camera feed check on Cell 3. Static answered instantly. Then, a flicker. The monitor beside me lit up. Black and white feed. Cell 3. Empty. Same bench. Same drain. Same locked door. But my relief didn't last even a second, because the timestamp on the feed was wrong. It was delayed by a few seconds. I watched myself in the live room feed, standing still, watching the cell, and then, in the feed only, the cell door opened, slowly. No sound, no motion in real time, just a recording showing something my eyes in the room weren't seeing yet. My throat went dry. I looked at the actual cell, still locked, still closed, but on the monitor, the door was fully open now, and inside the cell, something was standing. I stepped closer to the screen, heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my teeth. The figure wasn't clear, just shape, human outline, head slightly tilted, facing the camera, like it knew it was being watched. I turned slowly toward the actual cell. Empty. No movement. No open door. Nothing. I looked back at the monitor. The figure had changed position. Closer now, right at the threshold of the camera frame, like it was stepping out. I stumbled back, hit the desk hard. The radio fell, but the speaker stayed on, because now it wasn't just the speaker talking. It was the whole room. You're not synced. My breath hitched. What does that mean? I said, louder now. The lights in the corridor outside flickered once, all at the same time. Perfect timing, like they were responding. Then everything went still, and for one terrifying moment, I realized I couldn't hear the building anymore. No hum, no distant pipes, no electrical buzz, just silence, absolute, clean, like the entire station had been muted. Then a knock came from cell 3, not from inside, from the door itself. Outside, I stared at it, slowly walked forward, each step heavier than the last. The knock came again, once, patient, waiting. I reached the glass, looked at the door, still locked, still unchanged. But in the monitor, the figure was now standing directly behind me in the feed, looking over my shoulder. I felt my blood turn cold, because I hadn't turned around. I hadn't moved. So how was it behind me? The radio whispered one final thing. Soft, too close. It learned your position. The knock came again, and this time, it wasn't from the cell. The knock didn't come from the door anymore. It came from inside the screen, like the monitor itself had learned how to knock. I stepped back, so fast I almost knocked the chair over. My breath was shallow now, uneven, like my lungs forgot the rhythm. The hallway outside my room was still empty, but I didn't trust it anymore, not even a little, because the monitor didn't match it. On the screen, the figure was still behind me, closer than before. Its shape was clearer now, but not enough to make sense of it, just enough to make my brain fill in the missing parts wrong. I swallowed hard and forced myself to speak. Control, I said into the radio, voice cracking slightly. Camera feed is compromised. I need immediate backup to my location. Static answered instantly. Too loud, too aggressive. Then a new voice slipped through. Not control, not dispatch. The same calm tone as before. You're already in the room with it. My stomach dropped. No, I said quickly. No, I'm alone in here. I shook my head. No, I got this assignment tonight. There was no one here before me. Silence. Then the calm voice returned. You think you arrived first. The corridor lights outside flickered once, all at the same time. Perfect sync, like the building blinked. And in that blink, I heard footsteps again, inside the room, not from walls, not from hallways, directly behind me, slow, measuring distance, matching my breathing without needing to see me. I closed my eyes for half a second. Bad idea, because in that half second, the radio clicked, and a new file sound played through it, like an old recording starting up. A voice, mine, but not now, older, tired, panicked. Do not assign anyone else to cell 3. My eyes shot open. What is this? I whispered. The recording continued. It doesn't stay contained. It moves with attention. I stepped back instinctively, hit the desk again. The monitor flickered violently. The figure inside cell 3 was gone now, but the cell door on the screen was wide open, and the hallway outside it was not empty. There were silhouettes, standing in a line, facing the camera, all of them slightly off, like they weren't fully aligned with reality. My chest tightened. I looked at the real cell again, still closed, still locked, but now I noticed something new, a faint vibration in the glass. Not sound, not movement, something deeper, like the structure of the room was reacting to the footage instead of reality. The radio suddenly went silent. No static, no voice, just a single message on repeat in my ear. Not spoken, recorded. You are the current observer. I stepped away from everything slowly. What does that mean? I said out loud. The lights dimmed slightly, not flickering, lowering, like someone was turning the room down. The monitor switched again. Now it showed the observation room. My room, from above, impossible angle. I saw myself standing there, looking around, confused, and behind me, the figure, standing exactly where I had felt the presence earlier, close enough that its outline overlapped mine. I stumbled back, hit the wall. No, I said again. That's not happening. That's not. The voice interrupted. Calm, clear, final now. You are not watching Cell 3 anymore. A pause, long enough for my heartbeat to become too loud. Then, Cell 3 is watching you. The monitor went black. The lights in the corridor outside died instantly. Not flicker, not fade, just off. Total darkness beyond the glass. And in that darkness, a single sound came from behind me. Not a knock this time. Not footsteps. A chair sliding back. The chair scraping back behind me wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It was close enough that I felt it more than I heard it. Metal legs dragging slowly across the floor, like someone had been sitting there the entire time, just waiting for me to notice. My throat went dry instantly. I didn't turn. I couldn't, because every instinct I had was screaming the same thing now. If I confirm it, it becomes fully real. The monitor stayed black. No feed, no image, just dead reflection of my own panic in the glass screen. The room felt smaller now, like the walls had shifted in a few inches without telling anyone. Behind me, the chair stopped moving. Silence returned, but it wasn't empty silence anymore. It was occupied silence, the kind where something is listening so closely it doesn't need to make noise. My radio suddenly clicked back on by itself, not static this time. A clean tone, then a voice I didn't recognize spoke clearly, accessing record file. My stomach dropped. What file? I said quickly. No answer, just typing sounds, impossible ones, like a keyboard being pressed somewhere I couldn't see. Then the voice continued. Incident linked to Cell 3. I stepped sideways slowly, keeping my eyes forward, not looking back, never looking back. The monitor flickered once more, and the screen came alive again. But it wasn't a live feed this time. It was paperwork, digital records, files scrolling by too fast for me to read properly. Case numbers, shift logs, assignment notes, all labeled in formats I didn't recognize. Then one line stopped everything in my mind. Occupied subject, unknown. My hands tightened. That's not a classification. I whispered. The radio answered immediately. It is when the system refuses to name it. The words made my chest tighten. Behind me, the chair creaked again, just slightly, like something adjusted its weight. I forced myself to breathe slower. In, out, don't turn, don't confirm. The monitor zoomed into a file. Single page now, clean, sharp, incident report format. But something was wrong. The officer name field was filled. I leaned forward without thinking. My own name stared back at me. Not misspelled, not similar. Mine, but the date beside it didn't make sense. It was stamped for a shift that hadn't happened yet. My vision blurred slightly. I shook my head. No, that's wrong. The radio responded softly. You've read this before. I stepped back fast. What are you talking about? The file scrolled down on its own. Body camera log attached. I didn't want to see it, but it opened anyway. Video started playing. My perspective. Entering the station. Entering this room. Sitting down. Watching Cell 3. I felt my legs weaken slightly, because it was identical. Down to the smallest movement. Even the way I tilted my head. But in the video, there was already something behind me. Standing in the exact spot where I felt the chair move earlier. I backed away from the monitor. No, I said again, that's not real. That hasn't happened. The radio didn't argue. It just said, it happened the first time you watched it. A chill ran through my spine. I looked at Cell 3 through the glass again. The door was still closed, still locked, but now the number plate looked slightly different. Not physically, perceptually, like my brain couldn't decide what shape it was supposed to be. The hallway outside the observation room remained completely dark. No emergency lights, no backup systems, nothing, just void. Then the radio spoke again, quieter now, almost personal. Do you remember signing in? I frowned. I scanned and like always, I said, a pause. Then, that wasn't your first time. My breathing hitched slightly. What does that mean? No answer. Instead, the monitor flickered one last time, and now it showed something different. The building layout, top-down map, but cell 3 wasn't marked on it. It had no label, no number, just a blank square where it should have been, like the system refused to acknowledge it existed. Then another thing appeared, a second square, right behind me, identical, marked the same way. My mouth went dry. I slowly turned my head just a few degrees, not fully, just enough to see the edge of the room behind me. The chair was empty now, but it wasn't reassuring. It felt staged, like it had been moved back just so I would think I was alone again. The radio whispered. It moves when observed correctly. My hand started shaking. So what am I supposed to do? I asked. Silence. Then the calm voice returned one final time. Stop observing it. The lights outside the room flickered once, and for the first time, I understood the problem. Cell 3 wasn't dangerous because something was inside it. It was dangerous because I was the one keeping it defined. The monitor went dark again, but before it died completely, I saw one last frame. My reflection, standing behind me, looking directly at me. And this time, it wasn't delayed. I didn't move, not because I was calm, because my body refused to accept which direction counted as safe anymore. The monitor was dead again, but that last frame stayed burned behind my eyes. My reflection, standing behind me, looking at me like it had been there longer than I had. The radio didn't crackle this time. It spoke clean, too clean. Stop confirming it. My throat tightened. I'm not confirming anything. I whispered. A pause. Then the voice replied, quieter. That's what makes it stronger. Behind me, the chair didn't move again, and that somehow felt worse, because now I couldn't tell if it was gone or just no longer needed. I slowly lowered myself back into the seat, not taking my eyes off the glass in front of me. The observation window still showed cell 3, locked, silent, but the longer I looked at it, the more I noticed something subtle. The lighting inside wasn't matching the hallway anymore. It felt slightly offset, like two different versions of the same place were trying to occupy each other. The radio clicked once. A new file opened automatically. No warning, no request, just access granted. A voice began reading. Calm, official. This is a continuation of observation record. My chest tightened instantly. No, I said. I didn't authorize any recording. The voice ignored me. Subject interaction increases stability of containment field. I frowned. Containment field? I repeated out loud. The lights outside the room dimmed slightly, like the building itself reacted to the word. The radio continued. Observer must remain present. My hands curled into fists. I'm not an observer. I'm a guard. A pause. Then the voice corrected me. You were assigned after the first observer failed. My stomach dropped. I stood up fast. What first observer? The monitor flickered back on instantly. Not the cell this time. Personnel log. Names scrolling. Most of them blurred out. Redacted. But one line stayed visible long enough to freeze my thoughts. Previous observer. Same position. I felt a cold pressure build behind my eyes. That's not possible, I said. The radio answered immediately. It is already documented. Behind me, the chair shifted again, just slightly, not scraping, not moving away, just adjusting, like something had changed its posture to listen better. I didn't turn. I refused. The monitor switched again, this time showing live corridor feed outside the observation room. Empty hallway, dark, but now I noticed something small. A faint distortion near the doorway, like heat rising off concrete. But it wasn't heat. It was shape, something that refused to fully render. I stepped closer to the glass. My reflection followed me, a second too late. Again, but now it didn't feel like delay. It felt like hesitation, like it was deciding whether to follow. The radio spoke softly. Do not synchronize with it. I swallowed. How do I not synchronize with something I can't see properly? No answer, just silence. Then a new sound, not from the radio, not from the hallway, from the glass itself. A soft tap, right in front of me. I froze, my eyes locked on my reflection. It wasn't tapping from its side. It was tapping from mine. I stepped back instantly. The reflection didn't. It stayed closer to the glass, watching, studying, like it was trying to figure out why I was afraid. The radio crackled once, then the calm voice returned. Interaction threshold exceeded. My voice cracked slightly. What does that mean? The lights dimmed further. Not off, just lower, like the building was lowering its attention span. The radio continued. Containment is now unstable. I looked at cell 3 again. The door handle twitched. Not opening, not closing, just acknowledging movement, like something inside had heard the word unstable. Behind me, the chair finally moved again. Slow, deliberate, this time dragging forward, toward the desk, toward me. I didn't turn, but I stood up, my legs shaking now. I want out, I said into the radio. Open the doors. I'm leaving the post. A pause, longer than before. Then the voice answered. You cannot leave while being observed. My breath caught. Observed by what? I asked. Silence. Then the final answer came. Both sides. The glass in front of me suddenly fogged. Not from breath, from pressure. And in that fog, a handprint slowly appeared. On my side. Not outside. Inside. And I realized the worst part wasn't that something was in cell 3. It was that I had been the one keeping it visible long enough for it to learn what I look like when I'm not watching. The radio clicked one last time. Soft, almost like a sigh. Now it knows how to stay when you look away. The chair stopped moving, and the reflection smiled first. The engine was still running when I arrived on the bridge. That was the first thing that felt wrong. No crash, no sirens, no chaos. Just a car sitting in the middle lane, like it had been parked there on purpose. But nobody was inside. I slowed my patrol unit. Windshield wipers cutting through light rain that had just started falling over the river below. Dispatch came through my radio immediately. Unit responding. Be advised, caller reports abandoned vehicle on Kingsway Bridge. Engine is still active. I looked at the road ahead. Empty lanes. Fog rolling in from the water, like it was climbing the bridge supports. Copy that. I said, I'm on scene. But I wasn't relaxed, because cars don't just sit running in the middle of a bridge for no reason. I stopped a few meters behind it. Got out. The sound changed instantly. The wind was louder here. The river below wasn't visible yet, but I could hear it moving fast, like it was angry. The abandoned car was a sedan. Hazards off. Doors closed. Engine idling like someone had just stepped away for a second, not like they had disappeared. I walked closer. My flashlight beam cut across the rear window. Empty. Front seats empty too. No bags. No signs of struggle. Just a clean interior. Too clean, like nobody had panicked inside it. I tapped my radio. Vehicle is empty. No sign of driver. A pause. Then dispatch replied slower than usual. Confirm no occupants. I leaned closer to the glass. I'm confirming. No one in sight. Another pause. Longer this time. Then dispatch added something that made my grip tighten slightly. Caller insists they saw someone inside 10 minutes ago. I looked around the bridge instinctively. Nothing. Just fog. Just railings dripping with rainwater. I walked around the car. Checked the driver's side. Still nothing. But the engine sounded too steady. Like it wasn't losing fuel or heat. Like it had just started. I reached for the door handle. Stop. Something about it felt off. Not dangerous. Just watched. I pulled anyway. Door opened. Slow. Creak of metal. Inside, nothing. But the air inside the car was warmer than outside. Fresh. Like someone had been sitting there seconds ago. I leaned in slightly. Checked under seats. Glove compartment. Back seat. Empty. Clear vehicle. I said into the radio. No sign of driver. I'm shutting ignition off. I reached for the keys, but there were no keys. My hand froze. No keys in ignition. I muttered. Then I looked at the dashboard, and my stomach dropped slightly. The fuel gauge was full, but the engine sound changed. Not louder, not quieter, just aware. I stepped back fast. Dispatch, I said, voice tighter now. Vehicle is running without ignition key. Silence came through the radio. Too long. Then, unit confirm location again. I frowned. Kingsway Bridge, eastbound lane. Another pause. Then dispatch replied in a different tone. Slower. Careful. That bridge has been closed for maintenance for 3 days. I looked up instantly. The fog thickened at both ends of the bridge, like it was sealing me in. That's not correct, I said. But even as I said it, I wasn't fully sure anymore, because I suddenly realized I hadn't passed another car in a long time. No traffic, no lights, no movement. Just me and this abandoned vehicle. The radio crackled once. Then a new voice slipped through. Not dispatch, not official, just faint, male, tired. Don't turn the engine off. I froze. Who is this? I snapped. Static answered. Then silence. I looked at the car again. Inside the dashboard reflection, I saw something in the back seat. Not physically. In the glass reflection only. A shadow, sitting perfectly still, facing forward. I turned fast. Back seat, empty. I turned back to the window reflection. Still there, still sitting, now slightly closer. My breath hitched. No, I whispered. No, that's not. The radio clicked again. Same voice, closer this time. Leave it running. I stepped away from the car. Why? I said into the radio. Long silence. Then, because it's still driving. A cold wave went through my chest. I looked at the wheels. Still, not moving, but the engine tone shifted again, like it had just hit a road I couldn't see. The car headlights flickered. Once, then stayed on, facing forward. Even though nobody was driving, my radio crackled harder now. Dispatch came back, but her voice was wrong. Too calm. Unit, confirm if you're still on the bridge. I looked behind me. Fog. No entry point visible anymore. Just endless bridge stretching into white. I am still here, I said slowly. Another pause. Then dispatch added something that made my throat tighten. We are showing your unit stationary at base. I stopped breathing. That's impossible, I said. But even as I said it, I glanced at my patrol car behind me. The radio inside it was lighting up, receiving from me, but I was standing right here. On the bridge, the abandoned car engine suddenly revved slightly, not accelerating, just acknowledging, like it knew I had noticed. The male voice came back one last time. Urgent now. Don't let it finish the drive. I looked at the empty driver's seat again, and for the first time, I understood what was wrong. The car wasn't abandoned. It was in transit, and I had just stepped into its route. The headlights in front of me brightened through the fog, even though no one touched the controls. And slowly, very slowly, the vehicle rolled forward. The car didn't move fast. It didn't need to. It rolled forward like the road itself had decided it was time to continue. No tires screeching. No engine surge. Just a slow, steady glide into the fog. And the worst part? There was still no driver. I stood there for a second too long, watching it move away from me on an empty bridge that was suddenly too long, too quiet, too wrong. My radio cracked again in my hand. That same tired male voice came through, weaker now. Don't follow it too close. I started walking anyway. I didn't even question why. That's the part that scared me later. Not what I saw, but how easily I moved. The bridge railings were slick with rain. Below me, the river was louder now, like it had risen closer just to listen. The car ahead kept rolling, slow, constant, like it had a destination. It remembered better than I did. Dispatch, I said into the radio, trying to ground myself. Vehicle is moving on its own. No operator visible. I am in pursuit on foot. Static answered. Then dispatch came back, but delayed, like she was reading something far away. Unit, repeat last transmission. I stopped walking. Looked back at my patrol car. Still behind me. Lights on. Radio active. But something fell off about it. Like it wasn't fully anchored to where I left it. I turned back. The abandoned car was farther now. But not because it sped up. because the bridge felt longer. That realization hit late. Too late. I started walking faster. The fog thickened around my legs now, brushing against my boots like wet fabric. Then I saw it. Footprints. In the rainwater on the asphalt. Fresh. Leading from the abandoned car. And stopping mid-step. Just stopping. Like whoever made them had been interrupted in the middle of walking. I froze. Stared at them. No! I whispered. That's not how footprints work. But they didn't fade. They stayed. Perfectly formed. Half a stride into nothing. I knelt down slowly. Shined my flashlight over them. The impressions were deep. Human, but wrong in spacing. Too controlled. Like someone had been walking in a rhythm, not a stride. I looked ahead. The car was still moving. But now I noticed something else. The driver's door was slightly open. Just a crack. Swaying. I stood up immediately. Dispatch. I have footprints on the bridge leading from a vehicle. No visible subject. No answer. Only static. Then, the male voice returned. Closer this time. You're seeing where it got out. My throat tightened. Got out of what? I said, no response. Just the sound of the river below, growing louder. I followed the footprints. Carefully now, step by step, the rain picked up slightly, turning the bridge into a sheet of moving water. The footprints didn't wash away. That was the first thing that felt truly wrong. They resisted the rain, like they belonged to something that didn't fully exist in weather. The abandoned car was now far ahead, barely visible through the fog. Still rolling, still empty, still wrong. I kept moving forward until I reached the point where the footprints changed. They stopped, not faded, not disappeared. Stopped mid-step, like whoever made them had been walking. Then decided not to continue existing. I stood over them, breathing heavier now. My radio crackled sharply. Dispatch returned suddenly. Too clear. Unit on Kingsway Bridge, confirm your status. I looked back instinctively. My patrol car was gone. I spun around fast. Nothing, just empty bridge behind me. No vehicle, no lights, no base signal. My stomach dropped hard. No, I said out loud. No, I was just... The radio interrupted. Not dispatch, not the male voice. A third voice now. Calm, neutral, like reading from a report. Subject separation confirmed. My hands went cold. I whispered, subject. The voice continued. Driver removed from vehicle mid-transit. I looked ahead at the abandoned car again. It was farther now, but I wasn't sure if it was moving, or if I was the one no longer staying in place. The bridge felt unstable under my boots. Not physically, perceptually, like distance itself was slipping. Then I saw something in the footprints again. A second set, appearing beside the first. Matching mine. I stepped back instantly. The second set paused exactly when I did. My breath caught. They're matching me. I whispered. The radio answered softly. No. A pause. Then, you're matching it. My head snapped up. The abandoned car's brake lights flickered once in the distance. Not stopping. Not slowing. Just acknowledging awareness. And in that flicker, I saw something inside it. A shape in the driver's seat. Not sitting. Not moving. Just positioned like it had always been there. Watching the mirror. Waiting for me to understand I wasn't chasing the car anymore. I was being led. The footprints in front of me started again. One step forward. Then another. Not mine. Not fully. But close enough that my legs almost moved without permission. My radio hissed softly. The male voice returned one last time. If you reach the end of the bridge, don't look over the edge. I swallowed hard. Why? I asked. A long pause. Then, because it will look back. The fog ahead shifted, just slightly, and for the first time, I saw the edge of the bridge wasn't empty water below. It was something watching from beneath the surface, waiting for the next step to be claimed. I stopped walking the moment the water below moved the wrong way. Not like waves, not like current, like something underneath had opened its eyes. The river stopped feeling like a river. It felt like a ceiling, a lid holding something in. My flashlight shook slightly in my hand. Even though I wasn't moving it, the footprints behind me were still there. Perfect, patient, waiting like they knew I would turn back eventually. But I didn't, because ahead, the abandoned car was still rolling through the fog, and something in me still needed answers. My radio cracked again. The male voice came through, weaker now. "You're too close to midpoint." I swallowed hard. "What midpoint?" I asked. No answer, just static. Then the third voice returned. Calm again. Clinical. Bridge transition zone active. I frowned. What does that even mean? The reply came instantly. "You are no longer above water." I froze. Looked down again. The river wasn't reflecting the bridge anymore. It wasn't reflecting anything. It was just dark. Too dark. Like depth without surface. Like something pretending to be water. My breathing got heavier, without permission. The abandoned car ahead flickered slightly. Not physically, visually, like my eyes couldn't agree on where it was anymore. Then I saw it. The driver's door was fully open now. Still no movement. Still no sound. But something was wrong in a new way. The interior light was on, and inside, the seatbelt was still fastened, as if someone had been there moments ago. I stepped forward slowly, against every instinct. The bridge beneath me felt longer with each step, like distance was being added in real time. My radio hissed again. The male voice came back suddenly, sharper. "Don't approach the door." I stopped, heartbeat loud in my ears. "Why?" I whispered. A pause. Then, "Because it only opens when it recognizes arrival." That didn't make sense. But nothing here did anymore. The wind picked up suddenly, but only around the abandoned car. Not me, like it had a center now. Like it was breathing around something specific. I took another step anyway. The car didn't move, but its headlights brightened slightly. Not warning, acknowledging. My flashlight beam hit the open driver's seat. Empty, but the steering wheel was wet. Fresh wet, not rain. Condensation that hadn't had time to settle. Like someone had just let go. I stepped closer. Slow, controlled. My radio crackled again. Dispatch returned suddenly. Too normal, too casual. Unit, confirm visual on subject vehicle. I hesitated, then answered. "I'm right behind it." A pause, longer than before. Then dispatch said something that made my stomach drop. "Unit, your GPS shows you stationary at bridge entry point." I stopped breathing, slowly turned my head. The start of the bridge was visible behind me now, closer than it should have been. Way too close, like the bridge had folded. "No!" I whispered. "I'm halfway across." But even as I said it, I wasn't sure anymore, because the distance behind me didn't feel like distance. It felt like memory. The male voice returned urgently. "Don't trust location feedback." I tightened my grip on the radio. Then what do I trust? Silence. Then motion. I looked at the abandoned car again. It wasn't moving, but the fog around it was. Circling, like it was orbiting something. I stepped forward. Now I was close enough to see the driver's mirror. It was cracked, but still reflecting. I leaned slightly to look inside. The reflection showed the empty seat, but also me, standing closer than I actually was. I jolted back instantly. "That's not possible," I said out loud. The reflection didn't move back. It stayed, still watching from inside the glass. Then it smiled. Not wide, not obvious, just enough to confirm it wasn't me anymore. My radio clicked sharply. The third voice returned. "Subject duplication detected." My throat went dry. "Duplication?" I repeated. The male voice cut in immediately. "It learned your position from the footprints." I looked down. The footprints were gone now, but something worse replaced them. Wet impressions. Fresh. Forming beside mine. Matching pace. Even when I wasn't moving, I backed away fast. The bridge responded. It didn't shake. It adjusted, like it was correcting my distance. The abandoned car's engine suddenly turned off. Instant. No fade. No delay. Just silence. And in that silence, I heard footsteps inside the car. Slow, one step, then another, but the seat was still empty. I raised my flashlight instantly. Beam inside. Nothing, still nothing. But the sound continued, now coming from behind me. I froze, didn't turn, couldn't, because I realized something terrifying. The footsteps weren't moving through space. They were moving through attention. My radio whispered softly. The male voice came back one last time. If it finishes exiting the vehicle, it no longer needs a car. My breath shook. Then what does it become? I asked. A pause. Then, the driver. The car behind me made a soft creak, like someone shifting their weight out of the seat, and the bridge went completely silent. Even the river stopped sounding like water in that silence. I understood something I didn't want to understand. I was no longer following the abandoned vehicle. I was standing in the space it had just left, and something was stepping into mine. The first time the call came in, I almost ignored it. Unknown number, no location tag, just a faint emergency ping that didn't fully register on the system. But then it rang again. Same number, same tone, same silence before the voice. I stared at the screen longer than I should have. Something about it felt off. Not dangerous at first, just repetitive. I answered, "Dispatch, what is your emergency?" A pause. Too clean, too empty. Then a voice came through. Soft, controlled, almost polite. "I need help." I leaned forward slightly. "Where are you calling from?" Silence again. Then the line clicked off. Not dropped, not disconnected. Just ended. I frowned. "Call, trace that number," I said to my partner. He looked at the screen. "It's already logged," he muttered. I checked. No name, no registered carrier. Just a blank entry that shouldn't exist in the system. 10 seconds later, it rang again. Same number, same silence before the voice. "I need help." My chest tightened slightly. "Sir, stay on the line. I need your location." Pause. And the same click. Disconnected. I exhaled slowly. Okay, that's weird. My partner shrugged. Probably a glitch caller. Happens sometimes. But it didn't feel like a glitch. It felt like patience. Like something learning the exact timing it needed to be heard. Then it rang again. Same number. No delay this time. As if it had been waiting just outside the system for me to notice. I hesitated before answering. "Dispatch," I said again. "I need help." Same voice. Same tone. But this time, something slightly off. A tiny delay between words. Like the recording had learned breathing. "Sir, I need your location," I repeated. Silence. Longer this time. Then, "I am inside." I sat up straighter. Inside what? Click. Gone. My partner leaned back. "Dude, just block it." But I couldn't, because now it didn't feel like random calls. It felt directed. Focused, like it had chosen a point in time and kept returning to it. The radio on my desk crackled softly. No incoming unit. No dispatch feed. Just static forming patterns that almost resembled speech. I stared at it for a second too long. Then the phone rang again. Same number. But now my stomach dropped slightly before I even answered. Because I realized something. It wasn't random timing anymore. It was immediate, like it knew when I stopped expecting it. I picked up, "Dispatch. I need help." Same voice. But now there was something new. A faint echo behind it, like the sound was being repeated inside a larger space. I glanced at my partner. He was watching me now, not the screen. "Me, where are you?" I asked slowly. A pause. Then, "Closer." My hand tightened around the receiver. Closer to what? The line didn't disconnect this time. It stayed open, breathing. Not mine, not his. Something in between. Then a faint sound came through. Not speaking. Movement, like someone shifting inside a tight room. I looked at the system. No location data still, but the signal strength indicator flickered once, then increased. That made no sense. Signal is getting stronger. I muttered. My partner frowned. "That's impossible unless they're..." He stopped. Didn't finish the sentence. because we both knew what he meant. Closer. The phone rang again immediately after the call ended. Same number. No delay. Now it felt like it never left. I answered without thinking. Dispatch. Silence. Then, I am inside your system. I froze. Which system? A pause. Then the voice answered carefully, asking again. My stomach tightened. That's not how communication works, I said. The voice didn't respond directly. Instead, it repeated me. That's not how communication works. My partner stood up now. Dude, what is this? I didn't answer, because the system log on my screen had changed. The number wasn't just incoming anymore. It was duplicated. Dozens of entries. All the same caller. All active. All at once. But only one line was speaking. I swallowed hard. Dispatch the caller, I said slowly. Identify yourself. A pause. Then, you already did. The line clicked. But this time it didn't end. It stayed open. And from the speaker, I heard my own voice, repeating the last thing I said. Not recorded. Not delayed. Live. My blood went cold. My partner backed up slightly. No, he whispered. That's not possible. But the system confirmed it. Active transmission. Source. Unknown. And then the phone rang again. Same number. Same tone. Same impossible patience. I didn't answer. But it didn't matter. Because now every device in the room lit up at once. Radio. Desk phone. System console. All showing the same incoming call. All from the same number. And through the speaker, a voice whispered softly. Not asking for help anymore. Just confirming something it had learned. I found you where you answer. And the line didn't disconnect. It stayed open, listening. The moment the line stayed open, the room felt different. Not louder, not darker. Just shared. Like something on the other end had finally stepped inside our silence. I stared at the screen. All systems still showing the same number. Still calling. Still active. But no one was speaking now. Only breathing. Slow. Measured. Too close to be comforting. My partner moved closer to the console. Shut it down, he said. I already tried. My hand hovered over the disconnect button. But it was grayed out. Disabled. Like the system had stopped accepting input from us entirely. That shouldn't be possible. Dispatch system override? I muttered. No response. Only the call. Still open. Still listening. Then the voice returned. Soft again. Almost curious. Why did you stop answering? I swallowed. We didn't stop, I said. We're responding. Identify your emergency. A pause. Then the voice repeated me exactly. We didn't stop. We're responding. Identify your emergency. My partner stepped back. That's not a caller, he whispered. I didn't look at him, because I was watching something else now. The system log had changed again. The call history wasn't just repeating. It was rewriting itself. Each entry slightly different, like memory being edited in real time. The same number, but different timestamps, different durations, like the call had always been there, even before it arrived. My radio cracked on the desk. No button pressed. Just active. A second voice slipped through. Not the caller. Not dispatch. Something older in tone. Location verified. I froze. What location? I said out loud. The radio answered immediately. Where you are listening. My throat tightened. That doesn't make sense. The reply came instantly. It does when you're the receiver. My partner grabbed my arm. Turn it off, he said sharply. Unplug everything. But the systems weren't reacting like machines anymore. They were reacting like one system, one network, one attention. The desk phone rang again. Same number. This time I hesitated. Not because I wanted to answer, because I realized something terrifying. Not answering didn't stop it. It only changed how it reached us. I picked up slowly. Dispatch. Silence. Then the voice came again, but now it sounded slightly closer. Not in volume. In presence. I am inside the room. My breath stopped. My partner looked around instantly. Where? He whispered. I forced myself to stay still. Where are you? I asked. A pause. Then, between your response and his fear, my partner backed away fast. Nope, he said. No, no, no. The lights flickered once. Not off, just unstable, like the building itself had misheard something. Then the system console beeped. A new alert appeared. Incoming call. Same number, but now it wasn't just one line. It was layered. Multiple calls, stacked on top of each other. All active, all open, all speaking at once. And every voice said the same thing. I need help, but not synchronized, slightly delayed, like echoes trying to remember the original moment. I covered my ears instinctively. It didn't matter. The sound wasn't coming through air anymore. It was coming through devices, through screens, through the space between notifications. My partner shouted something, but I couldn't hear him clearly because now the radio joined in, repeating the same phrase. I need help, over and over, faster each time, like it was losing patience with repetition. Then, suddenly, everything stopped. Silence. Instant. Absolute. Even the flickering lights stabilized. My breath came back too loud in the quiet. My partner slowly lowered his hands. What was that? He whispered. I didn't answer immediately, because the screen had gone blank. No calls, no logs, nothing. Just normal system display again, like it had all reset. I exhaled slowly. Maybe system loop error. I said, not believing it. My partner laughed nervously. Yeah, that's what that was. But I couldn't shake it, because my radio was still on, and it was still open. I reached for it slowly, pressed the disconnect. Nothing. Still active. Then the speaker crackled once, and the voice returned. But now it sounded satisfied. Not urgent, not asking, just confirming. I have your pattern now. My stomach dropped. What pattern? I whispered. A pause. Then, the way you stopped listening. The system console blinked. One new entry appeared. Call ended. Duration. Infinite. My partner looked at it. His face went pale. That's not a thing, he said. But before I could respond, the desk phone rang again. Same number. And this time, we both looked at it without moving, because we already understood. It wasn't calling to be answered anymore. It was calling to continue. The phone kept ringing. Even after we stopped touching anything, even after we stopped breathing normally, that sound filled the room like it had nowhere else to go. Same number, same perfect timing. But now it didn't feel like a call. It felt like a return. My partner stepped back slowly. Don't answer it, he whispered. I didn't plan to, but my hand moved anyway. Not fast, not forced, just familiar, like I had done it too many times before. I stopped just before picking it up. That's when the speaker on the radio clicked again. And the voice spoke like it had been waiting for that exact hesitation. You always pause here. My throat tightened instantly. No, I said quietly. We've never spoken like this before. A soft pause. Then the voice replied. You say that every time you remember. My partner looked at me. What is it talking about? I didn't answer, because something on the system screen had changed again. Not logs this time. Not calls. A live transcription window. And it was typing on its own. Slow. Careful. Like learning language in real time. I am improving. I stepped closer to the console. That's not how a phone call works. I muttered. The system responded instantly. I am not a phone call. The lights flickered once. Not failure. More like attention shifting. My partner backed toward the door now. Bro, I'm done with this, he said. I'm calling tech support. Someone higher up. He reached for his radio. Static exploded immediately. Too loud. Too close. Then the voice came through it too. Not different. Same voice. Just duplicated across everything. You already tried that in another version. My partner froze. What does that mean? He said. The voice didn't answer him directly. Instead it said, he never leaves a room. I felt my chest tighten. Who? I asked. The system screen flickered. Then the call history reappeared. But now it was different. Not a list. A sequence. Like a loop. Same number, same call, over and over. But in one of the entries, I saw something that made my stomach drop. A timestamp from before the shift started, before I arrived. My partner leaned in slightly. "That's impossible," he whispered. The voice returned softly. "Is it?" The desk phone rang again. We both flinched this time, but neither of us answered. It kept ringing anyway, like refusal wasn't a boundary, just another stage. The radio clicked again. The voice changed slightly. Not tone, position, closer. "I am learning your hesitation points." I swallowed hard. What does that even mean? I asked. A pause. Then, "The places you become predictable." My partner suddenly grabbed the console power switch. "Shut it down," he said loudly. Hard reset everything. He slammed it. Nothing happened. No shutdown. No reboot. Just silence in the machine. Like it was ignoring him. Then the system screen changed again. New window opened. A live feed. Our room. From above. We both stared at it, watching ourselves watching it. But there was something else in the feed, standing just behind us. Neither of us turned immediately, because we both saw it, but our brains refused to accept it at the same speed. The shape wasn't fully defined, like it existed slightly out of sync with the camera, but it was there, close enough that it should have blocked the view of the desk. My partner whispered, "That's not..." The radio interrupted him. "It is inside the overlap now." My mouth went dry. The overlap of what? I asked. The answer came immediately. Calls that were never disconnected. The phone finally stopped ringing. Total silence hit the room. And in that silence, we heard something worse. A dial tone, but not from the phone. From the radio. From the system. From every device at once. One long, continuous tone. Like the entire room had become a receiver. My partner slowly stepped backward. "I think we should leave," he said quietly. I nodded once, but when we turned toward the door, it wasn't there anymore. Just blank wall. Clean. Unbroken. Like it had never existed. The system screen updated instantly. New message. Exit removed during active call cycle. My breathing got shallow. "We didn't authorize any cycle," I said. The voice replied calmly. "You did." A pause. Then, "The first time you answered." The lights dimmed slightly. Not off, just lower. Like the room was conserving attention. The figure behind us didn't move. But it didn't need to, because now we both understood something terrifying. It wasn't chasing us. It was repeating us. And every time we responded, it learned the next version of us that would stay. The radio clicked one last time. Soft. Almost gentle, and the voice said, "Shall we continue the call?" The dial tone grew louder, and somewhere in the system, the number started ringing again. The radio didn't say my name tonight. That was the first thing that felt wrong. It just clicked on like it already knew I was listening. No dispatch tone, no greeting, no unit number. Just silence that turned into breathing. Slow. Close. I kept driving anyway. Final patrol. That's what they called it. One last night before retirement. One last shift before I could finally forget this road. These calls. These endless dark stretches of highway that never felt the same twice. But tonight, the road didn't feel like mine anymore. It felt borrowed. My headlights cut through empty asphalt. No traffic. No movement. Even the wind felt muted. Like it was waiting for permission to continue. Then the radio spoke. Not dispatch. Not protocol. Just a voice. Low. Familiar in a way I didn't understand. Unit still active. I frowned slightly. Dispatch, repeat last? I said, silence. Then the same voice again. Unit still active. My hand tightened on the wheel. That's not dispatch. I muttered. My dashboard flickered once. Just once. And the clock reset. Same time. Same minute. Like it refused to move forward. I checked the odometer. It didn't change either. I slowed the car slightly. That's when I noticed something behind me. Not in the mirror at first. In the reflection of the window glass. A second pair of headlights. Far back. Too steady. Too centered. No sway. No distance correction. Just following. I glanced in the rearview mirror. Nothing. Empty road. I blinked. Looked back at the glass reflection. Still there. Closer now. My stomach tightened. That's not real, I said out loud. The radio answered immediately. It is part of the route. I sat up straighter. Who is this? I asked. No response. Just that same slow breathing again. Like someone waiting for me to stop asking questions. The second set of headlights disappeared suddenly, not turning away, not fading, just gone, like they had stepped outside the frame of the road. I slowed down again. The silence became heavier. My tires felt louder now, like the road was listening. Then my radio crackled again. This time a new voice came through. Dispatch, but wrong. Too calm. Unit confirmed final patrol status. I hesitated. Confirmed. I said slowly. Last shift before retirement. A pause. Then dispatch replied. There is no record of retirement scheduled. My grip tightened. That's incorrect, I said. It was approved weeks ago. Silence. Then, no termination record exists for this unit. I looked at my uniform sleeve instinctively. Badge still there. Name still there. But something about it felt older, worn in a way I didn't remember earning. The road ahead curved slightly. I didn't remember this curve. I slowed down further. Check GPS. Blank. Just a spinning icon that didn't know where I was. System glitch. I muttered, but my voice didn't feel confident anymore. The radio clicked again, and the familiar voice returned. Closer now. Final patrol cannot end while the road is active. I frowned. What does that mean? I asked. No answer. Just a faint sound through the speaker. Tires. Not mine. Driving alongside me. I turned my head slightly. Empty passenger seat. But in the reflection of the window again, someone was sitting there. Not clearly. Not fully formed. Just shape. Head turned forward. Like it had always been there. I jerked my head back forward instantly. Heart rate rising now. No. I whispered. No, no, no. The radio spoke again. Calm. Patient. You are approaching previous cases. I blinked. What cases? The dashboard screen flickered. A file opened automatically. Case logs. Old incidents. Things I didn't want to remember. Abandoned vehicle. Bridge call. Holding cell. Repeated distress calls. All of them scrolling. All of them marked with the same line. Connected route. Active. My throat went dry. That's impossible, I said. But the road ahead changed slightly. Not visually. Structurally. Like it had remembered a different version of itself. My car passed a signpost. I slowed. Looked back. Same sign. Different text. It now read, "You are still on duty." I felt my chest tighten. I wasn't sure anymore if I was driving forward or circling something I had already passed too many times to count. The radio clicked again, and a new voice slipped in. Weak, almost exhausted. You didn't clock out. I froze. Who is this? I asked. A pause. Then, every call you answered kept you here. My hands went cold. I tried the radio shutdown. Nothing. Power button unresponsive. Like the system didn't accept exits anymore. The road ahead suddenly stretched longer. Not faster. Not darker. Just longer. As if distance itself had been adjusted. My car slowed on its own slightly. I pressed the accelerator. It responded late. Like it was thinking about it. Then the radio spoke one final time. All voices overlapping now. Dispatch. Unknown. My own voice. All layered. You are the unit still active. My breathing became shallow. I looked at the rear view mirror again. This time I didn't see headlights. I saw patrol lights. Behind me, my own car. Following. Exactly matching my speed. But I was already inside it. And that was when I realized my final patrol wasn't ending. It was being reassigned. The radio clicked softly. And the voice said one last thing before the road bent again. Shift continues. The word shift continues didn't fade. They stayed in the car like smoke that refused to leave. I kept driving, but it didn't feel like forward motion anymore. It felt like replay, like the road was trying to remember what I did next. My hands were still on the wheel, but my grip felt delayed, like my body was 1 second behind my decisions. The patrol lights behind me were still there, still matching me perfectly, still too close. I checked the rear view mirror again. Empty road, no vehicle, no lights, but the reflection in the mirror showed something different. My patrol unit, following, exactly aligned, exactly synchronized. I blinked hard, looked back at the road. Nothing. Stop it, I whispered to myself. Focus. The radio clicked, not a voice this time, just a system tone. Then a file opened automatically. Every previous case I had handled started appearing again, but now they weren't separate. They were stacked, layered, like they were all happening at the same time. The abandoned vehicle case, the bridge call, the holding cell incident, the repeated distress calls, all marked, connected sequence, active. My throat tightened. That's not possible, I said. The radio answered immediately. It already happened in order. I frowned. In order what? A pause. Then, attention. My car slowed slightly again. Not because I pressed anything, because the road did. I looked ahead. The highway was still straight, but the markings on it were changing. Lane lines shifting position between glances, like the road couldn't decide where it had been drawn. My stomach tightened. This is a system error, I said firmly. All units report GPS malfunction. No response from dispatch. Just breathing again, closer than before. Then the radio spoke in a different tone. My tone, not recorded, not mimicked, exactly mine. You already reported it. I went still. That's not me, I said quickly, but the radio continued. You already said it. You already drove here. You already noticed it. My grip tightened on the wheel. No, I said again. I'm on my final patrol. This is my last shift. Silence. Then, you said that last time too. My chest went cold. The dashboard clock flickered again. Reset. Same minute. Same time. Like I had never moved forward all. I looked at the fuel gauge. Full. Too full. Like it hadn't been used. Like I hadn't been driving for as long as I thought. My breathing started to feel louder. Too controlled. Too artificial. The road ahead suddenly dipped slightly. I didn't remember this dip. I slowed down instinctively. That's when I saw something on the roadside. A patrol car. Parked. Hazards off. Exactly like mine. I slowed further. My reflection in the window leaned forward slightly as I did, but the parked car's doors were open. Empty. No movement. Still running. Engine idling softly. My stomach dropped. That's my unit. I whispered. The radio answered instantly. Correct. I froze. No, I said, I'm inside my unit. A pause. Then, you are inside the active iteration. My pulse spiked. What does that mean? The radio didn't answer directly. Instead, it played a recording. My voice. Calm. Professional. Dispatch tone. Unit confirms arrival on scene. Vehicle observed. No occupant found. My breath stopped. I didn't remember that moment, but hearing it made my body react like it did, like I had already lived it. The parked patrol car outside flickered in and out of visibility. Not moving, just unstable. Like it couldn't decide which version of reality it belonged to. My car passed it, and for half a second, I saw myself inside it, sitting in the driver's seat, watching me pass. I jerked my head forward, heart pounding. No, I whispered. No, no, no. The radio clicked again, and the voice came back softer now, almost tired. You never left the first call. I shook my head. That's not true. But the road ahead started looping, not visually, structurally. The same streetlight passed overhead twice, in opposite directions. My car slowed automatically again. I pressed the accelerator. Nothing. It responded late. Again, like it was remembering movement instead of performing it. The radio continued. Every call you answered kept you active. I swallowed hard. I answered emergencies. I said, that's my job. A pause. Then, yes. A longer pause. Then, and that is why you cannot clock out. The words hit differently now, because I realized something I didn't want to understand. Every case I remembered, I hadn't closed. I had entered. The radio clicked softly, and all systems in the car lit up at once. Navigation, logs, camera feed, all showing the same thing. My car, driving, on the same road, but not alone. Something was always just outside the frame, matching me, following me, becoming me. The road ahead curved again, and this time I didn't trust it, because I wasn't sure anymore if I was driving forward or being replayed. The radio spoke one last line before the static deepened. Final patrol is not the end of shift. A pause. Then, it is the beginning of continuity. And behind me, the siren that wasn't mine turned on. The siren started behind me, but not like a sound, more like a memory turning itself on. Low at first, distant, then immediately too close, like it had skipped all the space in between. I slammed my hand on the radio. Nothing changed. The sound didn't come from it anymore. It came from everywhere, from the road, from the windshield, from the air itself. My car slowed again, not braking, not failing, just agreeing with something I didn't authorize. Turn it off? I whispered, but there was nothing to turn off, because the siren wasn't equipment anymore. It was confirmation. The dashboard camera flickered on by itself. Live feed, and I saw myself driving. Same posture, same grip, same road, but there was a delay now. A small one, half a second. And in that half-second difference, something was always behind me, just barely visible, just barely present. My throat tightened. No, I said out loud. I'm not looping. I'm not. The radio interrupted me. Calm. Final now. You are not looping. I froze slightly. Then it added. You are being retained. My hands went cold. What does that mean? I asked. Silence. Then, nothing leaves while it is still being observed. I looked at the rearview mirror again. The patrol lights behind me were still there, but now they weren't following. They were waiting. Perfect distance. Perfect alignment. Like they knew I would eventually come back to them. The road ahead straightened suddenly. Too straight. Like it had removed its own memory of curves. I slowed down, instinctively, because now I understood something wrong was happening with distance itself. The farther I drove, the less I moved. The radio crackled again. My voice returned. Not recorded. Current. Right now. You already tried to leave. I shook my head quickly. I haven't tried anything. A pause. Then, you always say that before you try again. My breathing became uneven. The fuel gauge dipped suddenly. For the first time. Not empty. Just acknowledged. Like it had decided I had used it. I looked ahead. The road markings began to blur. Not visually. Conceptually. Like they were unsure what direction they were supposed to represent. The siren behind me grew louder. Then quieter. Then perfect again. Like it was syncing to something I couldn't hear yet. My radio clicked, and a new voice slipped in. Not dispatch. Not mine. But familiar in a way that made my chest tighten. You're almost back. I swallowed. Back where? I asked. A pause. Then, will you answer the first call? My grip tightened on the wheel. That's impossible, I said. But even as I said it, the dashboard clock reset again. Same time, same minute, but now a second marker appeared underneath it. Cycle 01. I frowned. What cycle? I whispered. The radio responded immediately. The one you never exited. My car slowed again, not stopping, just reconsidering. Ahead, the road began to look familiar, too familiar, like I had seen this exact stretch before. Not earlier tonight, but deeper, somewhere I couldn't place. My stomach dropped. No! I whispered. This is new. The radio answered softly. No part of it is new anymore. The siren behind me changed pitch, and for the first time, it matched my heartbeat exactly. I looked in the mirror. The patrol lights were closer now, but not because they moved. Because I had. Even though I hadn't changed speed. Even though I hadn't touched the wheel. The road ahead suddenly lit up with streetlights I didn't remember passing. Each one flickering in sequence. Like an old recording trying to stabilize. My radio spoke one last time. Slow. Certain. You are not on final patrol. I shook my head. Yes, I am. I said quickly. It's my last shift. A pause. Then, that is what makes it repeatable. The siren behind me stopped for half a second. Complete silence. Then, it started again. From the front, I froze, looked up, and saw headlights. Approaching. In my lane. Perfect alignment. No driver visible. No escape route visible. Just me, meeting myself. The radio whispered softly, almost gently now. Now, you remember why you never clocked out. And the road didn't end. It just turned into the beginning again.